Hello everyone, it's Brian here, and welcome to Livestream number 7 for January 14th. Sorry about the delay. I literally spent 10 minutes trying to open up Streamlabs. Um, just curious, do you guys hear me okay? I put the volume on maximum, and if it's too loud, just let me know. Maybe I can fix it, but I hope the volume's okay. And I know that let's see, I'm not sure who's here at the moment. I know that Epic Zombie Killer and Dan's reviews were here. So Epic Zombie Killer says, "Hi Brian, how are you doing tonight, bro? Thank you for asking, Epic Zombie Killer. I'm doing all right. Wish that Stream Labs, didn't take forever to load. Unfortunately, it's almost as if it was trying to stop me from live streaming, but I'm doing all right. I didn't have work today, and I just did some stuff around the house. It's been a pretty okay day. I was definitely looking forward to this. And Dan, you say I have a few things to do, but I'll be around 8:20, maybe 8:30, but I'll be here soon. No worries, Dan. We're gonna go. We're gonna try and make it like 2.5 hours. Tonight. Hopefully, we'll see. And Epic Zombie Killer asked Dan about Red Dead Redemption series, and Dan says that it's one of his favorites. Um, favorite games. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer. Hey Brian, I gave you a shout out on my channel. Oh, I didn't know that, Epic Zombie Killer. Thank you so much. I Yeah, I really didn't know that, but I'll after this I'll try to go back and check it out. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm glad you're here, Epic Zombie Killer. I appreciate you stopping by. And yeah, there's not a whole lot as far as Walking Dead news, but there is a good amount of interviews that Gimple has done, so we can talk about that as well as Fear. That Sherry is going to return. Obviously, you can see in the thumbnail that Sherry is going to be in Fear season 6, but I mean Sherry, she's all right. She's not a big character, but we still need to find more important characters. Like Rick, Jadis, Maggie, Herschel, or Heath. Um, but yeah, but like I said, Epic Zombie Killer, I really appreciate the shout out, and thank you. I'll try to give you a shout out too. Let's see. You say, "Hey Brian, if dog dies, I'll be so mad." Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. By the way, is the volume okay? Is it too loud? Cause I put this on max volume, and I just want to make sure it's all right. But yeah, if dog dies, I'm gonna be so upset. I mean, dog is one of the like at least maybe I think 4 new characters introduced in season 9 that I really like or I really liked. As far as new characters, not characters we've seen before. So technically Judith doesn't really count. But yeah, and you say I'm sorry, but every day I'm losing interest and fear. I just don't care for it. Yeah, I understand that, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, with Gimple saying that Fear Season 6 is going to be shown through 16 different perspectives, that we know it's going to be terrible because it's pretty obvious that we're either going to get 4 minutes with each character or we're going to get 16 minutes with each character for 4 of the characters, and then we won't see Alicia for 4 episodes, and then we won't see Strand for 4 episodes, and so on and so on. Um, but yeah, I mean, as far as Fear, I'm really only watching for Alicia. Like, she's pretty much the only reason I'm watching Fear. Honestly, I know that Ronnie Hayes from Make a Path Presents, he stopped watching and reviewing Fear. So, and he's a serious Walking Dead fan, but I mean, even he quit because he was just done with the writing. And I'm a fan of the actors, Alicia Denham Carey and Lenny James and Austin Emilio, but the writing is just terrible. And you say that, yeah, it's fine. Um, that's great. Thanks, Epic Zombie Killer. I'm glad the audio's okay. And one of these days, I gotta get an Apple microphone or something because my cousin said that that's a better microphone and it's much more clearer. So I'm gonna try and hopefully get that this year at some point. And you say I'm just sick of the bottle episodes. Yeah, me too. I really just don't understand why they do bottle episodes. Only showing one character. I mean, when you make a trailer for an episode, when they have to make a promo, you're only going to see one character in that promo or a few characters, so people are going to know it's a bottle episode. And the Terra episode, bottle episodes just do not work for the audience because not everyone likes this character. So that's why bottle episodes do not work. But in a way, I don't know if we're going to get bottle episodes in season 6. I think that we might just get 4 minutes for each character, like each main character or minor character in the story. Like 4 minutes with Alicia, and then Strand, and then Daniel, and then Morgan, and then Luciana, and then June, and then John. So, and that's basically the premiere, I guess you can say. So I don't know. That's just, I'm not a writer, but I just know that's a terrible way to write a story. I mean, you can't write a story with like 16 different perspectives in just like 42 minutes, or however long an episode is, because that's just not good writing. The audience is not going to be able to piece all these different parts together. Dan says, I'll be here in about 10 minutes, maybe 15. Well, no worries, Dan. We're going to hopefully go 2.5 hours in this live stream. So if you got to do something, I understand. No worries, man. Just take care of whatever needs to be done, and we'll be here waiting for you. Epic Zombie Killer says they were bad in The Walking Dead season 7, but they'll be worse in Fear. Yeah, the bottle episodes. I mean, at least with the bottle episodes in The Walking Dead, you at least they were adapting to a story that we knew, and like the characters were so much better. Like Maggie, Rick, and other characters like Michonne. Like at least we got to care about those characters before the bottle episodes in season 7. But then like the problem with Fear is that none of the characters are likable. Like John is more likable than Luciana, who's been around since season 2, and they've done a poor job, of making us care for her because of the writing. The writing is just terrible with Luciana. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, the writing for season 7 was bad too, but at least you know the writing throughout The Walking Dead until season 7, you can't really say it was all terrible because they made us care for the characters, before season 7. But before season 5, like pretty much no one cared about Luciana. So yeah, it is going to be worse in Fear because the problem with Fear is that no one really connects to most of the cast. I mean, John, Alicia, and Morgan are pretty much the only characters that people care about in Fear. And Skidmark, of course, the cat. I mean, of course the fan base cares about the cat. I mean, the fan base cares more about the cat than like most of the human cast. Like, what does that tell you about, Fear? It basically tells you that the cast is just awful. Like, not the actors. The actors are probably giving it 110%, but some of them just are not ready for these roles. Like the kids, I don't think the kids really should have been done. Like, I don't know how good the actors are, but the kids are probably not that great as far as acting. And like Luciana, she might be a great actress, but like the character just isn't written well. So yeah. Um, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about. So I rewatched Dan's reviews. He made a video talking about a possible time skip in Fear the Walking Dead season 6, and the time skip possibly matching up with the main show. And if no one knows, the main show is about 10 years, 10 months, and like 10 days into the apocalypse. So like Judith is around, like she just had her 10th birthday, I think. So it's been around 10 years since Lori and T-Dog died. So they're almost 11 years in the apocalypse now. Maybe like a month short or a month in a week. So yeah. Anyways, Gimple says that maybe Fear will connect that timeline, but the only way they can do that is if they do like a 7.5 year time skip or something, and that's just not going to work. Like you cannot give Fear a 7.5 year time skip right off the bat for season 5 to 6, because you would have to recast Charlie, and what would the characters have done in all that time? I don't know. And you say also, I'm sorry, but horses in real life are big, strong animals, so it doesn't make sense how weak walkers can pull them down so easily. Yeah, I agree. I hate that too. I mean, it worked in season 1, like when Rick had the horse and he got overwhelmed by the walkers because the walkers were fresh, or at least they were more fresh. Like those walkers were only like a few months old. But it's been like, almost 11 years now in the main show, and the walkers, are, well, actually, in Fear, they're like 3.5 years in the apocalypse, and the walkers pull down the horses and eat them. So that's obviously more unrealistic than like the Walking Dead main show season 1, where they were much stronger. So it is unrealistic, and some people will say, well, it's a zombie apocalypse show. It doesn't have to be realistic. But whoever said that, they have to be like really dumb or something, because just because the zombies are unrealistic in comparison to our world does not mean everything has to be unrealistic, or there has to be a plot hole. Like Rick is not going to fly, like Superman from the CRM back to Alexandria. Like, he's not going to do that, you know. So, there is a sense of realism. There are rules in the world of The Walking Dead, and there are rules in our world. What's possible and what's not possible. So yeah. Um, and so back to the time skip with Fear. They cannot do a time skip, like a 7.5 year time skip to catch up with the main show, because that's just gonna. I think it's just gonna make the franchise even worse. If you try to connect all three of these shows' timelines, because what made Fear interesting was that it was supposed to be before the Walking Dead main show. It's basically supposed to be a prequel, but they're basically taking that away. It's not no longer going to be a prequel. It's just going to be at the same time, and that's basically going to take away what made Fear special. So I disagree with that. You know, I don't know if Gimple's really going to do it. I don't know if it's 100% his decision, but it would be such a problem. And yeah, um, well, that's not good. I'm getting a YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Um, yeah, just so you guys know, that there might be some buffering, but yeah, hopefully there won't be too much. Let me know if you get some buffering, Epic Zombie Killer, and if it goes away. And you say, also, I don't understand why both shows have to kill characters so quick. Just because it's zombie apocalypse doesn't mean people die. Not everyone would die so quick. Um, can you give me an example, Epic Zombie Killer? I'm trying to think of an example, but like as far as like the Tom death, like in Fear season 5, like the selfie death on the bridge, that was obviously like that was really stupid, and that made no sense. But you say why both shows have to kill characters so quick because zombie apocalypse doesn't mean people die. Not everyone will die so quick. Yeah. Can you give me an example, Epic Zombie Killer? Because I think I agree with you. I'm just trying to think of a character like that you're talking about. Um, just not sure what you mean by that. Maybe I'm just misreading it or not understanding it properly. So let's see. Um, okay. Well, while I guess while I wait for more people and for you to uh, put put another comment, I'm just gonna take a quick sip of water. Okay, let's see. You say I'm talking about characters from season 1 of the original, and Fear, like Travis and his family, Lori and Carl. Um, as far as Lori, it makes sense why Lori died, because she was pregnant and there was no doctor there, so that made sense. Like, that was realistic for Lori. Carl's death was not realistic in the slightest. I mean, Carl is as tall as any adult male in the show, and he can kill walkers, just like Rick does basically. And he tripped and fell on this deer and then just got bit. Um, I mean, yes, getting bit is possible, but the way they did it, especially with Carl, was just unrealistic. As far as Travis and Fear, I did not agree what they did with Travis. That just made no sense. But I don't know. Like, it's been like almost 3 years since Travis died. Like, is the actor, like, was did he act, like, has he finished filming an Avatar, the sequel? Because I don't know if, like, he said that he wanted out of Fear, like Frank Delane did. The actor for Nick. I don't know if he wanted out, and they had to kill him off to have it make sense, or if they were going to keep him around longer. But like, yeah, as far as like Travis, I'm still unsure about that. Lori, it made complete sense, and Carl's, yeah, that was such a big mistake, and yeah, I don't understand why they did that either, because Carl was an experienced fighter, and that just made no sense. So, um, yeah. Let's see. I've been going on for about 15 minutes. By the way, my opinion, I hated Beth's death. Her death was dumb and forced. Why stabbed Dawn with scissors? Yeah, I didn't agree with that at all, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, why did they do that? They were building up Beth almost like they were building up Alicia or something. Like, it felt like they were making her kind of like an Alicia character or something. And also, she knew that Glenn was alive. She knew that Maggie was alive. Like she knew that her group was alive and they were coming for her. Why did she stab Dawn? Like that made no sense. There's so many problems with that, and obviously, the only way I can explain it is Gimple's horrible writing. Like season 5 was not a terrible season, but that was a terribly written scene. They came for Beth and they built up Beth big time in that like for like 5 episodes, and then or like 4 episodes, and then they just killed her off, and that made no sense. Like her death did not move anyone's story. It didn't move Daryl's story. It didn't move Maggie's story. Like it didn't really do anything. It made Maggie upset, but she was already upset. Like because her father died. Like I just don't understand what was the reason for it. And before, I mean, if anyone says that it was because of Noah, Noah dies like 6 episodes later. So there was no point to it. There was no point to Beth's death. It was just terribly done. Beth, honestly, she should have survived. Like they should have had her survive, and they should have had her survive up to the Negan Lucille lineup. And after like maybe Glenn dies, like she is still with Maggie at the hilltop. And now with Maggie or Lauren Cohan gone, um, you know, with Maggie gone from the show, they could, or at least they in a way they should. They could like imagine if Beth was still alive, like she could be the leader of the hilltop. You know, like that could have worked so much. Like Beth could have, if she was still alive, she could have met Alpha. Like all this stuff, and she wouldn't have been that teenager at the farm anymore. She would have been a woman, and she would be like a Maggie basically for that scene. And you say that was a slap in the face. There was no payoff. Yeah, I don't get what was the point of that whole scene. Because like if Beth was trying to kill Dawn, she would know where to stab her. Like she would not stab her in the chest with the vest. That didn't make any sense. And if she was trying to prove a point, what point was she trying to prove? And if she was just trying to scare her a little bit, like that makes no sense either. Like I just don't get why they did that. Um, like Beth is not a stupid character. They wrote her to know how to survive. Like they wrote her to be like independent and to think before she acts. Like that's how they wrote her in season 4 and 5. And she needed to think on her own. She needed to be smart, and she was being smart about how to get out of the hospital. She was making plans. Like I don't understand why they did that, because you can't just make a smart character just dumb all of a sudden, and that just made no sense. Like you're right, there was no payoff, and it was just such a mistake. Like no one had to die in that scene. Like in season 10, when Daryl, Laura, and Michonne and Carol came to Alpha at the border heads, like I thought that Laura was gonna die, but no one died at the border scene in season 10 when they met with Alpha. No one died there because that wasn't needed. Like you don't always have to have a death in a confrontation with villains. Like you don't always need to do that. And like Skimple did not understand that apparently, and plus it was the mid-season finale, so he was probably thinking, "Oh well, we need a death. It's the mid-season finale." But he was gonna kill off Tyrese in the very next episode, so that doesn't make any sense either. So I just really don't understand what Gimple was thinking when he was writing that, because honestly, if I was on that writing team, I would have like stood up and told him that not only do a lot of viewers watch for Beth and that she is a very likable character for the audience, I also would have told them that it would make her story and like 4 episodes pointless because the group has been trying to find her. If someone else needs to die, like make it work. But in a way, no one had to die. But you need to do something with the story. So yeah, Beth's death is it's definitely one of the more areas I'm like more passionate about when it comes to talking, because that was just such a big mistake. I mean, I'm glad Dawn died. She was a terrible villain. I mean, yeah, I agree. And if you think about it, like Dawn, she was created by Gimple. You know, she's not in the comic. Like the Governor, Joe's group, the Cannibals, and Negan, they were technically all in the comic. Joe's group and the Cannibals were changed a little bit, but overall they were in the comic. You know, they didn't have a name, or they had different names, but they weren't created only for the show. But Dawn was created just for the show. And like in Fear the Walking Dead, we've seen Fear's villains, and we've seen, you know, Dawn as a villain, and she was an original villain for the show, and she was terrible. So I'm really worried about The Walking Dead. If The Walking Dead decides to go past the comic material, I just know we're gonna get horrible villains and horrible writing, because for the most part, anytime the show, you know, has to create it, like if AMC has to create an original villain in The Walking Dead, he or she is going to be terrible. You know, I just know it. Like AMC, like Robert Kirkman could write great villains, but AMC cannot do that. You know what I'm saying? AMC cannot write a great villain because they don't have Kirkman's source material. You know, Dawn was not in the comics. She was a terrible villain because I didn't understand her motivation. Like she wanted, you know, to keep her hospital and people safe, but you know, she also wanted to capture people, and you know that she would put her group in danger because of that. So that doesn't make sense. Dan says, "Hi guys, I'm here now. I'm glad you're here, Dan. Don't know if you had to wait a little bit earlier. It took me 10 minutes like to open Streamlabs to start the stream. I have no idea why. Honestly, I feel like, you know, everything tries to stop me from streaming, but you know, I'm really glad I was able to stream tonight because I was looking forward to it. And I'm glad you're here, Dan. Me and Epic Zombie Killer were just talking about how Beth's death made no sense. Like it just came out of nowhere because she knew that Maggie and Glenn were still alive. So like, why did they kill her off? Like, or why did she do that? You know, just none of it made sense. But yeah, I'm glad you're here. So oh, 1 second. Let me just close some of these tabs. Sorry guys, I can't see your questions until I close these tabs real quick. Um, okay, got them closed. All right. Yeah, Dan, I'm glad you're here. By the way, Dan, I rewatched your video about Gimple possibly saying that there's going to be maybe a time skip to match up with the main show's timeline, and I was just talking earlier. I think that it just won't make any sense if you think about it, because the Fear group is separated from each other, and if they're going to do a time skip of 7.5 years, basically they would have to not only recast Charlie, but they would have to explain what the group has been, what each character has been doing all this time, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And Dan says, yeah. Oh wait, I think I missed Epic Zombie Killer. Also, one thing doesn't Fear uh, one thing about Fear that I don't understand is why doesn't Dwight mention Negan? Yeah, Epic Zombie Killer. I'm guessing that they're not gonna mention Negan because they because the writers know that people love the main show more now. So you know they kind of want to stay clear of mentioning, you know, things like Negan, because you know they know the audience just wants to go back to that show. Dan says, yeah, Dawn was a terrible villain. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I just didn't really understand her because she wanted to, I guess, like she wanted to protect her group, but she also captures people and, you know, takes them, brings them to the hospital, and forces them. But did Dawn never like think like someone, after kidnapping Beth, did she really not think someone would come looking for her, like a group like Rick's group? I mean, like you can't just, in the world of The Walking Dead, you can't just capture people or like random survivors, you know, and just expect like that a group is not going to come looking for them at some point. So even though Dawn wants to keep her people safe, she's putting them in danger by taking in extra people that is really not necessary. Um, you know, it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad she's gone, but still, like, she was a terrible villain, and Gimple created her, you know? Like, she's not in the comics, and I'm worried in The Walking Dead's future if we'll get more villains like her, because she was just terrible. Epic Zombie Killer says he never once brought up Negan in Fear Season 5. Yeah, I know, Epic Zombie Killer. Like I said, it's probably just because, you know, like the writers know that we love the main show more now, and they just want us to focus on Dwight and Morgan's story. Dan says, yeah, they know that people love the original series more than Fear the Walking Dead, especially characters like Negan. Yeah, exactly, Dan. People just, like, it's crazy. Like, people love Negan more than Dwight now, just because the writing for Dwight in Fear is just so bad. And it's really sad because, the actors are amazing, but unfortunately, it's the writing. It's just not going well. Negan's writing is pretty good, for season 9 and 10, but people still like the comic version more. I remember watching a video earlier today from PT Channel, and he said that he liked comic Negan more, and I agree. I do overall like comic Negan more, but there's a few things that TV Negan did a little bit better. Like um, as far as like not cursing so much, like at least partially, like that I kind of like. So like, I think like Negan should have had that in season 6, 7, and 8, but like that goes away slowly to show he's a changed character. Um, yeah. Epic Zombie Killer says, if I was writing that scene, I would have had Rick and his group wipe out everyone in the hospital and take Beth back. Um, you know what, Epic Zombie Killer, that's really not a bad idea because they were trying to show in season 5 that Rick's group had been out there too long and that they were losing their humanity, and that's why they had to come to Alexandria. Basically, and plus that would actually add some support on Gabriel, because not only did Gabriel see what Rick's group did to the cannibals, if he saw what they did to the hospital group as well, that would help. That would actually kind of justify more him telling Deanna that Rick's group are murderers and stuff, and they cannot be trusted. Back at the second half of season 5, so I mean, in a way, that would have been better to show that Rick's group is going too far. And like, I don't know if Emily Kinley, like the actress for Beth, I don't know if she wanted to leave, but they really should have just kept Beth longer, or that death made no sense. I mean, the group just like spends 4 episodes looking for her, and then getting her back, and they do, and then she just dies. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Dan says, yeah, that would have been actually way better. Yeah, I agree, Dan. Plus, like, the hospital group is dead now anyway. And if you're gonna ask, like, how do you know? I mean, it's The Walking Dead. I mean, look what happened with Morales' family. Like, apparently, his wife and kids died, and then he was with, the Saviors all this time somehow, and then he just died like 5 seconds later, or 5 minutes later. And the way I see it in The Walking Dead is anytime a character goes missing from the story, just assume they're dead. Like, unless it's someone big, obviously, like Rick, Jadis, Maggie, or like Herschel, but obviously like Heath, I think it's very possible that, Heath is just dead. Like, he tried to escape the CRM and they killed him, and that's why Rick, hasn't escaped yet, because I could definitely see something like that happening. And yeah, Sherry, she's coming back in Fear, but they're probably only doing that for ratings. It's probably not something that, you know, I mean, uh, they're probably bringing Sherry back for ratings. I really don't think they would have done it if there was any other reason. I just can't see it. But yeah, Dan, that would have been so much better, if Rick and his group wiped out the hospital group, because that would have shaken up everyone. Like, I think Beth would have maybe been shocked. Obviously, Gabriel would have been, and this would have added more character development for Beth. It would have basically established, like, a bunch of people died for me, like, like to bring me to to save me. I need to do something with my life. That's what they could have done with Beth in the second half of season 5. They could have had Beth. Maybe she could have been like the moral compass of the group for the second half of season 5, and she could have been the one to help convince them to go to Alexandria. And I honestly, I would have done that. Honestly, it's what should have happened, because the hospital group, I mean, there's no way they're still in Atlanta now. It's full of walkers, and they're obviously not strong enough to survive on their own. So the hospital group, they're dead. I mean, they just gotta be. They're dead to the story, and they're dead to the audience. So I'm just gonna say they're dead. It makes the most sense. Um, Pretty much, yeah. So let's see. Let's see. We're all cut up now. We've been going for almost 30 minutes now. So yep. Um, let's see. Was there anything else? Let's see. Maybe another Gimple interview that you guys wanted to talk about. Um, Maybe just to I'm trying to remember if there was one. We talked about Cherry, and we talked about the possible time skip in Fear the Walking Dead season 6. So let's see. Epic Zombie Killer or I'm just curious. Let's see. It says there's two viewers right now. Epic Zombie Killer and Dan. Are you guys still here? I'm just wondering because normally when it says two watchers, it includes the person talking. So just curious if one of you guys left. Um, yeah. I mean, um, I can't. I kind of running out of topics. I know The Walking Dead. I can't wait for it to come back. But honestly, we need a new teaser, a new promo, just something. I really don't know what we can possibly do, to make the wait faster or the wait less. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna take another sip of water. Um, you know what? How are you guys doing tonight? Epic Zombie Killer, Dan, how are you guys doing? Everything going good? I know that Dan, I know that you released a video earlier and I watched it. Um, yeah, sorry Epic Zombie Killer I couldn't watch your videos recently, but I'm going to try when I'm done with this. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says I think there were rumors that Beth's actress wanted to leave to pursue her music career, but I don't know. Um, maybe, but like I definitely would have if I was Scott Gimple, I would have tried to work out maybe a contract issue, or another contract deal, um Emily, the actress, she can do The Walking Dead, but still work on her music career. I think because The Walking Dead, they only film certain months out of the year, and there could definitely be a way around that schedule. Because also Beth is not exactly a huge character, so you could make it work. Um, yeah, basically you can make it work. I think, unless there's no way that I don't know, but unless there was no way she didn't want to stay on a little longer, I would have, tried to sign a new deal with the actress for Beth because, I mean, even though her singing thing is an issue for some people, she was still a very, in a way, a fan favorite character. That's technically, for a lot of audience members, they didn't want to see her go. Um, I mean, she could film The Walking Dead and then do her music for the rest of the year. I don't know, maybe just something like that. Just worked out a deal. Dan says, "Can't wait to see season 10B. It's getting so close." Yeah, I agree, Dan. I thought this wait was gonna be I mean, it's the longest wait I think for the second half of the season. But not only do I think hopefully it's gonna be worth it, but it's going by pretty fast. I mean, these streams that I'm doing, they really do help. The wait, and it's just crazy. Um, yeah, and I remember last year for season 9B when Paul died, and I couldn't wait for the second half of season 9. And we're finally gonna get the Whisper War, finally. And I just hope it's done better in the show than it was in the comic because it was a little disappointing in the comic. There were certain parts I liked, but there were also a lot of disappointing parts, especially the end. Epic Zombie Killer says she was a somewhat huge character, but she wasn't as big as Daryl or Carol. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. She wasn't she didn't have a fan base like Daryl or Carol, but Beth definitely had a lot. She was a favorite character for a lot of people during that time. And if you look at people's reactions on YouTube, I know I did, you can see that a lot of people were not only shocked that she died, they were pretty mad. I mean, I would say they were around as mad as when Nick died in back in Fear. So Beth was like as cared about as Nick was in Fear. So I think it's something like that. She was around that area. So she wasn't like Daryl or Carol level, but she was around maybe Nick in Fear the Walking Dead level of importance. And I mean, I understand it. You want to keep big characters, but you also want to keep certain characters that could be big later. And Dan says it makes the wait less boring, so thanks for that, man. Well, you're very welcome, Dan. I mean, honestly, thank you guys for coming. Um, you know, like I wouldn't be doing this if you guys didn't, help me, support me, and give me something to talk about. So I appreciate it. Epic Zombie Killer says, but Dan was right. She was a terrible character in season two. Um, I mean, she wasn't really even a character in season two. They weren't doing anything with her. And then season three, they were doing just a little bit with her. And then season four and five, they really were picking up at her. But it kind of makes sense why they didn't do anything with her in season two. I mean, there were so many other characters, and um, I mean, yeah, it wasn't really the best storyline, with the whole suicide thing. But I mean, it was still, I think, it was still better than a lot of what we got in Fear. It was still interesting, and I mean, as far as I mean, you guys have read the comics. Did you prefer Maggie's family in the comic or in the show? Cause this is kind of tough. As far as who I liked more in the comic and the show, I mean, I really liked Beth, what they were doing with her, but then she was just killed off. But like, when I was reading the comic, I really liked Maggie's brother, Billy Green. Uh, her youngest brother, and I was kind of disappointed that Kurtman killed him off, but I'm just saying, Maggie's family, they even both in the comic and the show, they never really got their chance to shine because I get it, Maggie's the most important member of her family, but I feel like they could have done more in both the comic and the show with her family, because in the comic her Green family was huge, but in the show, it was just Beth and Herschel pretty much for Maggie's family. Um, and I kind of disagree with that. I feel like we could have had a little bit more from Maggie's family. Um, I don't know. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says I preferred her family in the comics. There were definitely more. There were definitely more of them. I really liked, Billy. Let's see, other characters. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. They definitely felt more it looked more real. I guess what I'm trying to say than you know than Maggie and Beth, because in the comic they were a close family, but in the show Maggie and Beth were not really that close, at least not entirely. So I don't know. Yeah, in a way the comic was better in that regard. They definitely kind of looked better. I mean, they were a bigger family, and you had a choice of which one you wanted to be your favorite from the group. Uh, let's see. Dan says, yeah, in season two she did almost nothing. Yeah, that's true, but she was introduced that season, and kind of makes sense why. Like, I mean, she was only 16, so it kind of makes sense why you don't do much with Beth in season two when she's introduced in that season. But yeah, season two, it definitely was. I mean, it's one of the more boring seasons, and she was one of the more boring characters. But they still kept her. They decided not to kill her off, which was a good thing because you know you could do more with a character. Obviously if you don't kill him off, and that's true. She did almost nothing, but so did a lot of members of the Green Farm. I mean, there was Patricia and Jimmy, and I don't know, a lot of characters in season two were kind of just there, and they didn't really get a lot of screen time. I mean, I don't know, maybe there was just too many characters. Plus, the first half definitely revolved around finding Sophia, and then the second half dealt with the aftermath of finding Sophia, and then the whole Randall's group thing. Um, so yeah, I mean, Beth was not. I'll admit, Beth was not a interesting character in season two, but in season four and five, she definitely started getting more interesting, and they decided to kill her off, which was a mistake, obviously, because we really could have used someone like her. Epic Zombie Killer says, I always wondered why they didn't bring Billy or those members to the show. Yeah, I don't understand that too, Epic Zombie Killer. Even though it's obviously 8 years too late, I really think that could have been interesting, to see a Billy Green in the show, because I believe he was one of people's favorites. Besides Maggie, I think he was the second favorite member of the family, and maybe even the favorite. Because Maggie in the comic, she wasn't that interesting. I mean, she was with Glenn, but a lot of people say that Maggie in the comic, when they introduced her, that she was only a love interest. But Billy was not. Obviously, he wasn't a love interest. He was actually, a real character, or at least, you could say that he felt more real than Maggie. Because Maggie immediately wanted a relationship with Glenn, whereas obviously Billy was his own person. So I don't know. I think they should have introduced more members of the Green family back in season 2. I mean, like they got the perfect actress for Maggie and the perfect one for Herschel, but like as far as Beth, like I don't know, like I feel like we could have had other characters. Instead of Beth, we could have had Billy, and we could have had another sister or something. I don't know. Um, let's see. Dan says, "Yeah, I agree with that. It's like, could they just not find good actors for them, or what?" Yeah, I'm not sure, Dan. I believe I remember watching videos from Ronnie Hayes, Make Path Presents, and he said that the budget was cut from season 2, so it's possible that they didn't have the budget for other members of Maggie's family. But I mean, that's kind of weird though, because they had Jimmy, and they had Jimmy as best boyfriend, but in a way, I think that was kind of pointless. Like they they could have had him as the brother in the family or something. Um, I don't know. And plus, they did Randall's group. I really don't know if it was maybe a budget issue or just they couldn't find the right actors. But I mean, it couldn't be that hard to get actors who look and who could portray Maggie's family that well. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure what you think, Dan. But like, did you would you have liked to see the other members of Maggie's family in the show, like Billy and the others, like maybe make it more interesting, like because in the show they Maggie's family was like really small, but obviously in the comic was much bigger. But yeah, I don't know, I definitely would have liked to see more, like even though obviously it's like I said 8 years too late. I think that could have definitely helped make season 2 more interesting, because season 2 did not have a whole lot going around, or going for it. Season 2 mostly revolved around finding Sophia and the Lori pregnancy thing. Epic Zombie Killer says also in the comics the prison lasted way longer than the show. I'm fine what they did with the prison in the show, but like as far as like in the comic, yeah, I think they found it like issue 12, and then they stayed and lost the prison in issue 48. So that was a good while. I definitely think this is kind of hard to answer. I think the prison felt more real in the comic just because we actually see the group like looking in the armory, looking at all these places. They even look in the library too, but in the show, like they skip over a lot of that stuff. So I'm not really sure. Um, but like I said, I think the show did all right with the prison as far as how long it was used. Dan says the budget definitely was bad in season 2. It shows, I mean, like most episodes of season 2, they were just on the farm. Meanwhile, Shane was freaking out over something. LOL. Yeah, yeah, I agree, Dan. Although they definitely could have at least gotten a few actors to play the rest of Maggie's family. Because she had a lot. She had like they could have at least added a couple of more brothers or something. Um, I don't know. The budget was, yeah, it wasn't great. I heard that it was half of season one's budget, and it was like double the episode, so that was an issue. And yeah, Shane was freaking out, but like what they did with Shane, like that was really good in the story. And I heard maybe John Barthel or someone asked if Shane could say Rick when he was a walker. Like, imagine if Shane was a walker, and when he was coming towards him, and like he moans the words Rick, and that's when Carl shoots him or something. But obviously, they decided not to do that because I think that would break the lore that Robert Kirkman established, because zombies shouldn't have any memory. But the zombies, they kind of broke that rule in the very first episode when that kid walker picked up the teddy bear. So, oh, and Morgan's wife Jenny also, tried opening her door. So, it's really hard to say. Honestly, I really don't know. Epic Zombie Killer says, I will say the governor was way better in the show. In the comic, he was just evil for no reason. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. The governor was definitely better in the show. David Morse did a fantastic job as the governor in the show. But, Negan, like, I was just talking with my brother this morning, and he even said that the governor is still not only the best villain, but he's better than Negan. Like, or actually, I should say he's better than Negan and Alpha. Like, my brother is okay with Alpha. He finds her funny. As far as Negan, he finds him a little funny, but not that scary. And the governor, my brother finds him very intimidating. And I agree, the governor was the best villain in the show. And yeah, so thank you for the comment. I definitely agree. The governor in the comic was just not a great villain. Dan says then season 3 is like what happened with the budget because like there's Woodbury in the prison, a lot of characters, and a lot of zombies, and 3 extra episodes. Yeah, they probably decided to increase the budget a little bit from season 2. And as far as, yeah, I mean, Woodbury looked great. Like the prison looked great, and they did have a lot of characters and a lot of zombies and 3 extra episodes. Yeah, that's true, Dan. They, like I said, they probably just increased the budget, but like I still wonder if like what happened in the finale, if that was because like they ran out of money or something. Because in the finale of season 3, I wanted to see the shootout, like not the prison fall, but at least some sort of shootout between Rick's group and the governor's people. But we never got to see that in the finale of season 3, and instead the governor just kills his own people. So I just never understood why they did that. Even though I really like season 3 had one of the worst finales. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says he sucked in the comics. Like, why is he doing all this? Why cut off Rick's hand? Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand why they didn't do that in the show, just because it was too early, and also it would be an issue with CGI and stuff. But the governor in the comic, like, I never understood. I mean, even with the novels, it still doesn't really explain it that much. Like in the comic, the governor's just crazy. Like he's just mad, evil, crazy. But the governor in the show, he just feels so much like a real person. He's charismatic, and you can see why people follow him in the comic. Sorry, in the show, but in the comic, I don't really understand why anyone would follow him. Even though he's the comic's first antagonist, the governor in the comic was, I would say, the worst antagonist out of the 3 between Alpha and Negan. And Dan says, I hated the governor in the comics so much for that. Yeah, yeah, Dan, I agree. I mean, I still don't just understand it. Like, the governor in the show, he actually thought about things, and he was thinking of, every scenario, that they captured people, someone's going to come looking for them. He actually plans for things. But the governor in the comic didn't do that. He was just erratic, and he was just loud, and he had no charisma. Like, why would anyone follow him? I mean, he was missing an arm, he was missing an eye, and you know, he would still just tell his people to do his dirty work, while in the show he didn't do that. So yeah, I don't understand that, Dan. I mean, I'm not saying like Kurtman wrote a bad villain in the Governor, but he definitely was like out of the 3 in the comic, definitely the worst one, because Alpha and Negan were just so much better. But in the show, it's just crazy that the Governor is out of the 3 villains, like he's the best one, and that's just crazy, how they can change it. And yeah, I mean, that's really crazy. But it really does work. David Morrissey's governor. Let's see. We have been going on this for 48 minutes now. Okay, so not an hour yet, but we're getting there. Um, thank you, Epic Zombie Killer and Dan, for keeping this stream going. Hopefully, more people can show up, and we can get it rolling. More. Let's see. Dan says, I think the governor in the comics was just terrible, but then David played him in the show, and it was like, wow, the governor is awesome. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I really wasn't sure when I saw him in the show. I was really unsure whether or not he could play the governor, because like I knew that he was different, and this was a long time ago. Like, yeah, I mean it was 7 years ago, so I wasn't as into The Walking Dead as I am now, and I didn't really know too much about the comics. I wasn't really, you know, I wasn't a master of the comics or the show back then, but I was still, I was still devoted to it. And yeah, the Governor show was just amazing. I mean, it works so well because in the show he actually hides what he's doing in a way, and it actually makes sense. But in the comic, he's just terrible with things. Like in the comic, the governor's room literally has the heads, but in the show he actually keeps it secret. Like that makes so much more sense. Epic Zombie Killer says, I will say if they brought the comic governor to the show, it wouldn't have worked. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. The governor in the comic just did too many things that were just I'm not saying it would be too much for the show or too much for TV, but it would just be too much for the audience to handle, at least in the beginning. There's certain things you just cannot do, at least in the beginning of a story. And I mean, yeah, making a antagonist that people like is better than making an antagonist that people hate. Because it makes for a much more interesting story. And Dan says, yeah, a big thanks to David for being an awesome governor. Yeah, I agree, Dan. And sometimes, like, sometimes I think my brother asked me, and sometimes I wonder too if like we're ever gonna get like a governor backstory. Like, I would love to see David Morse reprise his role as the governor for like maybe just like a few episodes or something, like in a spin-off or something, and we get to see how he went crazy or something. And I think it has to do with obviously the death of his daughter. I think most likely he was with Merle and Milton and his brother and Penny and maybe a doctor, let's say Dr. Stevens from Woodbury, and his daughter got killed when a group attacked them in a house, and that made him snap completely, or at least partially. And then the death of his brother, Brian, made him snap like completely, like this time broken, like he lost all his family, and that made him snap. So, I'm pretty sure that's what happened to him, because like that's kind of based somewhat on what the novel did. And yeah, I mean, the governor in the comic, it just doesn't really make too much sense why he snaps, like based on the novel. But in the show, it makes so much more sense. Yeah, I mean, just he did an amazing job. I wonder what the actor's doing now. Because yeah, he was fantastic. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says, well, obviously the reason he went crazy is he lost his wife and child. Yeah, that's true, Epic Zombie Killer, but he lost his wife before the apocalypse, and then he lost his daughter Penny because, some raiders tried to attack him in a house, and then he lost his brother, Brian. Um, and I think in the comic, the governor's name was Brian, but they changed that in the show, so that actually works so much better, you know. Also, there was a part in the comic where the governor did something to, let's just say he did something to his niece, even when she was a walker, and that just went too far. And I'm glad they didn't do that in show, because that would have just been so bad in so many ways. I'm not really gonna say it here. I know this is not a kids channel, but it's honestly just too graphic for me to even say. But I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Just if you guys know what I'm talking about, just be like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. The governor in the comic, he had like no morals, and I understand that for a villain, but like he would just do things for like no reason. But in the show, he had a reason for doing things. That made him so much more interesting. Let's see. We're all cut up now. Um, let's see. While we wait for, oh, let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says, as awesome as the governor was, Andrea was the worst part of season 3. She was definitely one of the worst parts in season 3. I honestly don't know what they were doing with Lauren Cohan. Like, I don't understand why they couldn't have. You know what they should have done? They should have wrote Lily into season 3 and given her Andrea storyline. And one thing they could have done in season 3 is they could have had Andrea and Michonne come across Rick in the premiere episode, and then, they find the prison together. And then they could have maybe had Lily as a character who we would, follow her point of view as she goes to Woodbury. They could have honestly done anything else but make Andrea, like not an antagonist, but like on the enemy side, and just build her up and then kill her off. Because I think the actress, she signed on for 12 seasons. That was such a mistake. If you have an actress who's willing to stay on for 12 seasons, like, don't kill her off at the third season. Like, that doesn't make sense. Um, Dan says, I know where you're going with that. I almost forgot about that. Yeah, Dan. I wish I forgot about that, and I'm so glad they didn't do that in the show, and even in the comic, that was such a mistake. Like story wise and visually, that is just there are certain things you cannot do even in the comic. Let's just say that. Epic Zombie Killer says you Mena Lori Holden. I'm not sure what you mean, Epic Zombie Killer. you mean Laurie Holden? Yeah, that's the actress for Andrea. Dan says, I don't hate Andrea, but I don't like her much either. They obviously didn't know what to do with her. Dan, back in season 3, they decided to write her to be with the governor, and then I think because the audience, before season 3 was released, because the writing made people dislike Andrea so much, they decided to kill her off. And I don't really understand that because they already killed off Lori and T Dog in the first half of the season, and they were really running out of season 1 characters. They only had like maybe 6 left, so killing off Andrea, like, plus if the actress wanted to stay on till season 12, like, it's a mistake to kill her off, this early. So yeah, I don't really understand that. Um, yeah, I mean, I didn't hate her either, but I really did not understand what they were doing with her, and she didn't really feel like the same character in season 1 and season 2. It's like they changed her. Epic Zombie Killer says you said Lauren Cohan, and it was Laurie Holden. Right. Yeah, you're probably right, Epic Zombie Killer. I think I always get those two confused. Like their names are so similar in a way that you could just, make a small mistake. But yeah, I know Lauren Cohan is Maggie and Laurie Lauren yeah, Laurie Holden is Andrea, and Laurie is obviously Rick's wife. In the show, I get kind of confused between the characters and the actors and actresses. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Sorry, just their names are kind of similar. Dan says, I think they just didn't know what to do with her, to be honest. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I think that they wanted to write her to be on the side of Rick's group in a way, but also on the governor's side, someone in between. But they decided that fans would dislike her so much from how they're writing her that they would just kill her off. Which, I mean, I don't know. It's just a mistake. Obviously, yeah, it was a mistake, and plus, like, it still doesn't make sense how she died because she totally could have gotten out of it, but she was talking to Milton, and then she wasted time, and then got bit, and it just didn't really make sense. Dan says the names are almost the same. It's a good thing they're not still both on the show. LOL. I mean, yeah, I guess that's one positive thing, but well, actually, if you think about it, like they aren't on the show anymore, Dan. I mean, Lauren Cohan hasn't been on the show for like a year and a half, and we still don't know if she's probably going to be in the finale. But Maggie hasn't been on the show for a while now, so if you think about it, like they're both gone from the show. So yeah, um, I mean, if one of them was on the show, it would work. But yeah, they're both gone now. So yeah, let's see. Is there? You know what? Let's. You guys want to do? I want to try death predictions. Like, so we know that the hilltop in the second half of season 10 is going to get attacked, and we know that in the second half, we know Alexandria is going to be attacked too by the Whisperers. But do you guys think it's going to happen at the same time? Because I don't think so. I think that Rosita and Daryl are seen in both attacks at Alexandria and the hilltop. I'm pretty sure. Definitely Rosita. And I think Daryl is in both of them too. So I'm really not sure what they're going to be doing exactly in the story. Like how they're going to pan out. Like it's going to be the same time. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says, by the way, my opinion, Carl's death was. Oh, Dan said true. Yeah. Uh, yeah, that's true. Epic Zombie Killer says, by the way, my opinion, Carl's death was weak and forced. Like, why have him get bit? Screen dumb. Yeah, yeah, Epic Zombie Killer. We can talk, all night, and for years about how Carl's death was such a mistake. And I still wish so much that instead of Judith, it could have been Carl that said, that Carl that saved Magna's group, and he picks up the hat and he says like, "My name's Carl, Carl Grimes." Like, and he's like, Carl is like a man now. He's like 23. He thinks his dad's dead, and basically he becomes like a sort of like leader in the group. And obviously he's not the leader, but he's like on the council. Even though he's one of the youngest characters, you know, or one of the characters in the story. He still is on the council and stuff. And then that way we can have Carl and Judith. And yeah, Carl's death was just so dumb. Like, I think we've talked. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before. Epic Zombie Killer. They should have kept Carl on just a little bit longer, and they recasted him. Like, it would have been just so much more easier. Dan says, I think Hilltop first, then maybe Alexandria, but I could be wrong. Maybe. I think. Let's see. Let's see. Rosita is in Alexandria right now, so we know that she's gonna get attacked because we see a Whisper attacking Baby Coco. But also, I think there was a part in the trailer or the promo where Rosita had blood on her. So I think that Rosita is going to kill the Whisperer, and then something's going to happen, and then maybe she goes to the hilltop to be safe, but then it gets attacked as well. So I'm not really sure. But I think it's going to go from Alexandria to Hilltop. But I could be wrong, Dan. Yeah. Epic Zombie Killer says Rosita and Ezekiel better live to season 11. Just want them outliving their comic deaths to mean something. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, Epic Zombie Killer. Like, when I saw the season 9 episode, the calm before with episode 15 with the Pike deaths, I really thought it was going to be Rosita, but it was Tara. And I really thought it was going to be Ezekiel, but it was Henry. And if you remember, as I've said before, I think Henry's death was such a big, I mean, not such a big mistake, but I think it was a mistake in season 9. It should have been Ezekiel because Ezekiel has cancer now, and I don't really understand what they're going to do with him because Ezekiel, he hasn't done much in the first half of season 10, and from the looks of the promo, Ezekiel is not really going to do much in the second half of season 10 either. So basically, they had Ezekiel live instead of Henry, and he's pretty much not doing anything. So I really don't know what they're going to do with him. Also, I don't recall seeing Ezekiel. Ezekiel's at the hilltop, and I don't see him fighting during the attack on the hilltop. I don't see him with Aaron and the other people. So I think it's very possible, that he could die, but I'm not really sure. But as far as Rosita and Ezekiel dying, I could see them surviving. I think they are going to survive this season, but I don't see them doing anything huge to give meaning to their lives, I guess. Like I don't really see how what they're gonna do to mean something in the second half of season 10. Like I think Rosita's just gonna protect Coco and fight at the hilltop, and then Ezekiel is just gonna talk with Carol, and maybe he's just gonna stay at the hilltop or go with them to the Commonwealth. I mean, who knows? Epic Zombie Killer says, yeah, like they had Abraham outlive his comic death only to die 3 episodes later. Just a waste. Yeah, Epic Zombie Killer, absolutely agreed. I mean, it would have worked if Glenn lived. That would have worked if Glenn lived because that would have given Abraham's death purpose. Because, if Abraham died because of all the saviors that Rick's group killed, then that would actually give meaning to his death, just the way Glenn had in the comic. But they had it be, they had Glenn and Abraham die, so I just don't know. I mean, Abraham's death, like, that was I mean, I would have liked to see him survive to All Out War, and I still don't get it. Like, Kermit even said, like, he wished he didn't kill off Abraham because he's a soldier and he should have survived to All Out War, and died in All Out War. But then Gimple decided to kill him off, and before All Out War too. And I just don't understand. Like, Robert, like, I don't know if Robert Kirkman wants to make that change in the show, why not do it? I just don't know. Dan says Ezekiel doesn't die in season 9, then 5 episodes later, he has cancer and probably will die. It's like, really, Angela or Gimple did this to us too, lol. Yeah, I don't know, Dan. I mean, I don't know if Ezekiel is going to die from the cancer this season, but it definitely could happen in season 11. I really don't know what they're going to do with Ezekiel. Like, are they going to give him the water tower death? I kind of don't see it happening. I really see it being Gabriel again, or it could be just could be a different character like Scott or something. Although I really hope Scott doesn't get that death, because let's be honest, that death is way too cool to go to Scott. I mean, come on, it's Scott. Like, he doesn't deserve that death. Because he's so, underdeveloped. I guess what I'm trying to say. But as far as Ezekiel, dying in season 10, I don't think it's going to happen. But I think he could definitely die from the cancer. And, they might give him like Andrea's comic death. They might have him in bed and then he, is dying and then that's it. They might give Ezekiel that death. So yeah, that's probably what's gonna happen. I'm gonna say that's most likely what's gonna happen for his character. So yeah. Um, let's see. Uh, oh, Dan says I still think Gabriel will get that death. Yeah, I agree, Dan. That that death, I definitely see it going to Gabriel. The show has constantly switched character deaths. Like they gave Herschel Tyrese's comic death, and then they gave Abraham and Glenn's comic death. But technically, you could say that I guess Abraham got half of it, and Glenn got the other half. And then they gave Abraham's comic death to Denise, who was such a minor character. Like that was such a big mistake too. Um, I feel like they could have had that be Tara or someone, or just someone better than Denise, because Denise was so underdeveloped and no one cared about her. And yeah, I definitely think Gabriel will get that death. And plus, that's going to be shocking. I mean, Gabriel's been around since season 5. That's half the show. And if you think about it, because season 5 to 10 have more episodes than season 1 to 5, that means Gabriel has been around longer than 50% of the show. So that's crazy. Epic Zombie Killer says, like, I don't like Gimple's reason. He says Negan picks Abraham because he saw Abraham as a threat. Just dumb excuse. Yeah, I don't understand that either, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, even in the comic, they established that Negan killed Glenn purely random, you know? And why would. That doesn't make sense to me. Why kill Abraham? Because Negan says people are a resource. Like, right there, I just found a contradiction by Scott Gimple. He says he wants Negan. Negan spares people because they're a resource. He wants valuable people like Sasha, Rosita. He wants people who are dangerous to work for him because they're useful. Abraham could definitely have been one of those people. And he kills him because Abraham's a threat. Like, that makes no sense. Like, that's a contradiction. So yeah, thank you for the comment. I agree. That's just a dumb excuse, and I hope you, I hope I given you like new insight, like to be like maybe you're like, wow, like that's actually right. Like Negan always says that people are a resource, but now I just found a contradiction. If he saw Abraham as a threat, why does he still say people are a resource? Because Abraham was a resource, So yeah, Dan says if it's Scott, I would be like, what was the point of Scott this whole time? LOL. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I mean, to be fair, that's what I asked when Denise died. When Denise died, I'm like, what, that's it? Like, what was the point of her? So, yeah, if Scott gets that death, I'm going to be pretty disappointed because he's such a minor character. Dan says he's been in the background for literally 5 seasons. Technically, yeah, like 4 or 5. But I agree, Dan. I mean, Scott, like, also he has a kid, like Marcus. He has adopted son from the Saviors or from the Sanctuary. So I literally don't understand what they're doing with him. Like, they literally give him something in season 9, and then his like adopted son disappears. Like, I don't know what's going on with Scott. Epic Zombie Killer says, plus Comic Gabriel, he was a pretty weak character. TV Gabe, I see him spitting in Beta's face before dying. Um, Maybe. I mean, it kind of depends because it might be a little tricky to do that, but I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, they did a great job with Gabriel as far as the comic to the show translation. Gabriel is definitely one of the better, versions in the TV show that Gimple has done. Gimple has. We talk constantly about how Gimple messes up characters, but he made Morgan. I would say he made Morgan more interesting. He made other characters more interesting, like Abraham, Rosita. I guess you could say Eugene. Gimple has made a good amount of characters better in the TV show than they were in the comic. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's made them worse too for some of them, like Denise. Let's see. Dan says, "Man, we need that to happen. I like that a lot because he's so different from season 5 Gabriel." Oh, you mean spitting in Beta's face? Yeah, I kind of hope. I mean, to be fair, like I kind of, in a way, don't want that, just because like Beta is supposed to like show up and do the deed, kill Gabriel, and if he spits in Beta's face, that's kind of it would kind of like make Beta seem like not as big of a threat. You know what I mean? But in a way, I understand why you would like that. Epic Zombie Killer says, which is funny because I hated Gabe in season 5. Yeah, I did too, Epic Zombie Killer. I just really didn't like him. I mean, I knew what they were doing with him, but it just felt like, it just felt like they kept Gabriel, but they killed off Beth. And I was just thinking, I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you kill off Beth, who was even though she wasn't like too interesting, she was still somewhat of a fan favorite. And you bring in Gabe, who is immediately hated, you know? And yeah, I just didn't really understand that. Um, let's see. Dan says, I think I would actually miss Gabriel if he was killed in the show, but I would have never said that for Comic Gabriel. LOL. Yeah, I agree, Dan. Comic Gabriel, I'm just like, when I was reading it, when I'm reading him in the comic, or when I was reading him, I should say, I was constantly like, oh, Kurtman, you finally remembered Gabriel. He hasn't done anything, like, I was always constant like, Gabriel, when not Gabriel, Kurtman, when are you gonna do something with Gabriel? And then they finally had him in the issue, and Gabriel said, I want to fight, and then yeah, we know what happened after that. But they definitely did a better job with TV Gabriel. So yeah, let's see. Thank thanks again, guys, for helping me, keeping the stream going. I'm not sure. I mean, I wanted to go for 2.5 hours, but we have a lot less people than last time, so I'm not sure how long I can go on. Let's see. Dan says now in season 10, he's like one of the leads in Alexandria. It's like, wow, how much things have changed. LOL. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I mean, things have changed a lot, and I think I put this in the comment section of a video Movie Idol did, but I basically said how Gabriel is more loyal to Alexandria and the survivors than Maggie is. I basically said that, and some people, thought it was really funny. So yeah, I basically said like Gabriel, stuck around for Alexandra, loyal, and obviously Maggie is no longer in the series and in the community. So I mean that's crazy. When you like Maggie, she used to be one of the most loyal characters, but that changed big time. And Gabriel, he was one of the most cowardly, and that changed too. Even though it's still weird, like Gabriel has not killed that many people. Like I think, like, if you guys think about it, I think Gabriel has only killed like 3 people. Like he has one of the lowest kill counts out of anyone in the show. I think as far as main characters, like he has the lowest. I'm not joking. So that's just crazy to me. Like just 3 kills, I think. Epic Zombie Killer says, yeah, Comic Gabe sucked. He was introduced, faded in the background, then returned and died. Yeah, absolutely agree, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, I don't know what they were doing with, you know, Comic Gabriel. I mean, he had a really cool death, but still, it's just like, what were they doing with the character? You know, I mean, he was a pastor, and he wasn't like, getting people married. Like he didn't like get Rick and Andrea married, or like he wasn't, or like Abraham and Rosita. Like he wasn't, like, you know what I mean? Like he's a pastor. Like what is he doing? I don't know. That was just weird. Like the one thing a pastor is supposed to be doing in our world too, and he can't even do that in the zombie apocalypse. You know what I mean? Like would you guys have at least been interested if he was, like doing the ceremony for people getting married in the communities? Like that at least would have given him something. Dan says that Dante kill scene was brutal but awesome. Well done, Gabe. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I mean, it's still just crazy because Gabriel, he's only killed like 3 people. I mean that was, a really awesome, moment. But unfortunately, I think like Beta is gonna have his somewhat revenge on Gabriel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how in The Walking Dead they do a scene and eventually it's going to come back to bite them. Like, karma, I guess. Even though it was the right thing to do, you know how it is in the world of The Walking Dead. You do something and eventually it comes back at you at some point. And unfortunately, I think Gabriel's time is, going to end. And I remember in the promo, we see him with a shotgun, but I don't recall seeing that shotgun in season 9 or season 10. So, and also they're outside of Alexandria, so I don't know what Gabriel and them are doing. In the promo, we see Gabriel talking to Gamma, and she mentions that the people that they sent are trapped in the cave. So, most likely, I think it's possible Gabriel's going to go out there with some other people, and while they're out, Beta and some Whisperers are going to sneak into Alexandria. And that would actually explain why Alexandria gets taken down in the night so easy. Because the fighters left. But then again, wouldn't they take horses? I don't know. If you guys can give me some ideas on that, that would be great. What do you guys think? Epic Zombie Killer says that's one thing I don't get about the comics is near the end a ton of characters vanish, Dante included. Yeah, I don't understand it either, Epic Zombie Killer. Even Mikey, if you don't know who Mikey is, he's a blonde Alexandrian kid, and Rick was kind of like making him like an unofficial son, because Carl was gone, and like a lot of characters just disappeared at the end, and I don't know what they were doing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love the comic ending, but I think that Kurtman should have at least, I don't know, at least added some more, like, or at least a page and said what happened to these characters, and maybe even an image showing what they look like older now. Dan says, definitely, unfortunately, the end is near for Gabriel. At least that's what we're both thinking. Yeah, I agree, Dan. And it's just going to be crazy because, like, Gabriel is alive, like, after all this time in the show. And then when the second half returns, like, it's possible that when the second half just comes back, he's just going to be dead. And then we're just going to be talking and being like, wow, like, he's actually gone. Like, I mean, it's not like a Glenn death, but it's similar. Dan says maybe like a JSS attack, but with the Whispers this time would be epic for an episode. Yeah, I agree, Dan. And also, the thing is, too, on this time, unlike last time, they don't have guns anymore, at least not as much. And also, they don't have Carol to save them now, so yeah, Alexandria is in trouble big time. Like they are screwed because they don't have Carol, they don't have Daryl. I think that Gabriel and the other fighters are going to be outside of Alexandria when it gets attacked. So pretty much the only people who are going to be in Alexandria is Rosita and Coco and I guess Barbara. I mean, do you guys know who Barbara is? I mean, oh boy, this is not gonna go well for Alexandria. Let's just say that. Um, I mean, Barbara, she's been around. Actually, Dan, she's been around for 5 seasons, longer than Scott, and they haven't done anything with her. At least with Scott, like they have him go on, with Michonne to places. But I mean, Barbara, they haven't done anything with. Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a lot like JSS, and I really like that episode. But there was some problems I had with it though, and I think they could have fixed those problems, but it was still a really good episode. Epic Zombie Killer says, like, especially Dante in the comics near the end, Maggie doesn't mention him, and Herschel doesn't mention what happened. Mention him what happened to Dante. Him and Maggie hooked up, then he disappears. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. I don't. Maggie and Dante never should have hooked up in the comics if Kurtman was just gonna forget about him. I mean, did Maggie and him get married? Because Herschel, I don't know, like the way they describe it, because Maggie's Earl Sutton, says that Herschel didn't really have anyone, to raise him. Maggie was always busy and he didn't have a father. So, even Dante couldn't raise him someone, so I don't know what happened. Yeah, I just don't know, Epic Zombie Killer. That was just weird. I guess they broke up or something. I really don't know. I mean, it's possible. It's a zombie apocalypse. People can break up, even though it wouldn't really make too much sense. Dan says Rosita needs to step up and defend Alexandria, that's for sure. Yeah, I agree, Dan, but it's going to be tricky, because she has a baby, in the house, and I don't know if she would, like, leave in the house while she goes out there to fight. I see her killing, like, one Whisperer that attacks Coco and her, and maybe just staying in the house, because if you remember, Rosita said that she needs to survive because she doesn't want Coco to be an orphan. So I don't think Rosita is going to go out like, and fight like she normally does. I think that maybe in the second half that's going to be her character development. She's going to be scared like Alicia was in the second half of season 5, and she's going to not be cowardly, but she's going to have more, like, value, or like she's going to value her life more than ever, like, or at least more than other people's. So I could see that happening. But yeah, Dan, I mean, Alexandria is screwed. I don't think there's any defending it. I mean, Michonne's gone. I mean, let's see, Gabriel might be gone. Daryl and Carol are gone. I mean, Magnus Group is in Hilltop, but um, like Alexandria pretty much has no defenders. I mean, oh, Laura. I guess there's Laura, but I don't know what they're gonna do with her. Actually, this is a good time to flesh out Laura if you think about it. Uh, if she is in Alexandria when it gets attacked by the Whisperers, like this would be a good chance to flesh her out. So I hope they do that, but there's a good chance they won't. they might just have the focus be on Rosita, which I think is going to would be a mistake, you know, because I mean Rosita could die in like a season from now, so why not flesh out Laura? But yeah, I mean it's just crazy. Like Alexandria used to have so many people, now it's pretty much no one. Epic Zombie Killer says, my opinion, I didn't like Carol in season 10A. Like if anyone dies in that cave, then it's her fault. She should have known that Alpha was setting a trap. I mean, yeah. Well, my fault with Carol is why didn't she just shoot Alpha? Like, if I was Carol, I just would have taken that bow and arrow, and I would have at least like shot anywhere on Alpha. I just would have immediately started trying to shoot her because we know that Carol's a good shot, and maybe there's a distance issue, but Carol could have at least, you know, given that a try, And she said she didn't have her gun on her, so I guess that she was right. She didn't lie to Daryl. So, but she could have tried killing Alpha with the bow and arrow, and I don't understand why she didn't do that. Dan says, "Yeah, I love Carol, but like, come on, Negan will kill her for you anyway." LOL. I'm not sure, Dan. I still don't know if it was Carol that released Negan. I mean, even though they haven't had an interaction on screen with each other, I still don't know. I mean, it could be Daryl. It'd be funny. What if it was Scott? Oh, that would be amazing. What if Scott is the one that released Negan and said to kill Alpha? Like how shocked would you guys be if it was Scott this whole time? Like he orchestrated the death of Alpha. Like, would you guys like find that hilarious, or would you guys just get mad? Uh, so like obviously I'm joking, but like I really don't know if it's Carol or Daryl. I don't know who it is. Like I it's 50-50 for me. I honestly don't know which one of them could have done it. Because if Carol did it, why would she, try to kill Alpha so much? Or at least like she would. I feel like we would have gotten a hint. But if it's Daryl, I just don't know. I still somewhat cannot see Daryl releasing Negan because that's an issue. So I just don't know. It's 50-50, but it's going to be one of them. I'm sure of it. Epic Zombie Killer says, but still, Dwight shouldn't be on Fear. He should be on the main show still. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what happened. It was the stuntman's death back in like season 8, and I don't remember. I heard it was in the premiere. Like he fell off a railing. In real life, the stuntman died, and I don't know what they were doing, but someone was obviously careless. Like the production team were not being careful, and I don't know what happened. So I think Austin Amelia was a witness to that, and he had to leave. But I still don't understand. Like they could have avoided that, and yeah, he shouldn't be on Fear. But part of me thinks like if I don't know, they could have like I mean maybe they could have uh I don't know like if Negan killed off Dwight after Dwight betrayed Negan, like that would have been shocking. But they didn't do that, so I don't know. Like I'm not sure. Dwight's situation was tricky. Dan says, finally, Scott is important. Yeah, Dan, I mean, like, that would be shocking. Like, can you imagine if, like, Scott is always the one orchestrating plans in Alexandria and, like, no one knows? Like, that would be amazing. Like, for the fans. Like, it's just so funny because, like, Scott is, like, the first Alexandrian to die in the comic, but in the show, he's gonna be the last one. Like I can see them killing off Aaron before they kill off Scott. Like it's crazy, but I cannot see them killing off Scott yet. Like he has survived all this time and has not been important. And I think they're just gonna kill every Alexandrian that's left and then have Scott be the last one, and then he's gonna be important. I mean, who knows? But I hope they don't kill off Aaron. But I can definitely see it happening before Scott. I don't know how. I just do. But yeah, Dan, I like your emoji. It would be so funny if Scott actually like becomes important because that's just crazy. Like that's partially why like The Walking Dead has had so many issues lately. Like I mean, the last couple of seasons, just because they've had so many characters and most of them are not likable or they're underdeveloped. I mean, I remember you did that spotlight on Cindy, and even though Sydney is like the most likable person from Oceanside, she still is one of the most like disliked characters in the show. So yeah. Dan says Scott will be the last man standing. LOL. Yeah. Move aside, Daryl. Scott's gonna be the last man standing. I mean, he has the same first name as Scott Gimple. I mean, that has to be the reason. Like Scott Gimple, you know, is keeping Scott alive any way he can because he has the same first name as him. So yeah, I mean that's hilarious. Epic Zombie Killer says, like, yeah, even with the crossovers, Fear still doesn't feel like it's in the same series because they aren't mentioning Daryl, Negan, Carol, or any characters from the main show. Yeah, I don't understand that, Epic Zombie Killer. And also, I still don't understand why Morgan does not take the group back to Alexandria, or the Hilltop, or the Sanctuary, or the Kingdom, or Oceanside, or the junkyard. Like, he knows all those places are still around, and it just feels forced. Like Morgan does not even mention Alexandria by name. Like, he doesn't even say. He just says he knows a place in Virginia, but he never gives names. He also mentions the tiger, Shiva, but he never mentions the name. And I definitely think that that's an issue. When you do crossovers, I mean, yes, people who are watching Fear will know what he's talking about, but people who, I mean, for the few people who don't watch the main show, they might not understand what he's talking about. So, yeah, I don't understand it. And there's also so many things about Fear that it just doesn't fit with the universe. Like, the characters in Fear, they never act brutal. Like Morgan in season 8, him and Rick they murdered a bunch of saviors, when they didn't have to. But in season 4 and 5 of Fear, Morgan is acting like he never even did that. And it's just so annoying because we know his character, and now they just change it, so it's just weird. Let's see, you say, like, yeah, back in season 4, I wanted them to jump in the SWAT truck and drive to Alexandria. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. I just don't understand. They want to milk Fear. I don't understand how they think this makes sense, because Morgan knows it's safe, and he still is basically what Morgan is doing. He's basically killing the survivors by not taking them to a safe place. I just don't understand that. Dan says, it's like, why not go to Alexandria? Oh no, we need to stay back in Virginia because that'll definitely make things better. Yeah, also Dan, like, they're with the wrong Virginia. Like, we wanted Morgan in this group to go to Virginia, but this is the wrong Virginia. Like, and that has to be a troll or something by Scott Gimple and the writers. Like, we asked them if Morgan and his group can go to Virginia, where the main show is, and he introduces a character named Virginia, and he makes her the point in the story. And, like, the writers must be like, oh, see, we have Virginia in the story, and we're basically like, no, this is not the Virginia we wanted. We wanted the state, not some goofy villain named Virginia. Like, the writers had to have known what we wanted, and just did that on purpose to us. And, like, some kind of joke or something. Like, that had to have been a joke, honestly. Let's see, we've been going on for almost an hour and a half now. I'm gonna take another sip of water. Let's see, Epic Zombie Killer says, that's the thing about Fear that I don't like in the original. We see Rick and his group get tough and become hardened people. Fear, they all turn into pacifists. Yeah, I don't get that either, Epic Zombie Killer. Even some characters who don't do bad things, like, they say they need to make up for what they did. Like Alicia. Alicia doesn't need to make up for anything she's done. She's never murdered people out of vengeance. Like, she never went like Rick mode or whatever. She never did that. She protected her friends and family, and she did what she had to. Like, she never went as far as Rick in a way. And, like, Strand, yes, he betrayed his group like twice, but he never murdered people. He needs to make up to his own group, not to the world. And as far as Daniel, like, Daniel doesn't need to make up for what he did in the apocalypse either. I don't think. The only characters that need to make up for what they did is Morgan, and let me think, there's someone else, but John and June definitely don't need to make up for what they did either, because John and June, I don't even know if they've killed anyone. Like, June, the only thing she did was run away from John. That's all she did. She does not need to make up for what she's done. The same thing with Luciana. What did she do in the apocalypse that was so bad that she has to be a pacifist? Like, I don't get that. Dan says they enjoy making us mad, so that's probably why we got Martha. LOL. Um, do you mean Virginia, Dan? I'm just a little confused. Um, you mean Martha? Oh, Martha. Yeah, yeah, the season 4 villain. Yeah, she was the worst villain in Fear or in the Walking Dead main show. Like, she was the worst villain. She was an old woman with a, let's see, it was like a dog, catcher thing, and she had like one walker on it. That's it. She is the worst villain ever, and she wants to kill people just because she thinks that people are selfish. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, all it takes is one person with a gun, to end her. That's it. It doesn't make sense how she's so dangerous. She's one person and she's not even that skilled. Epic Zombie Killer says that's why the main show will always be better than Fear. Its character evolution is far better than Fear. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. Although back in season three, for Fear the Walking Dead, it was better than the Walking Dead main show was. So like the Walking Dead main show was like in season 7, season 8, and Fear was like around season 3. So I think that was the only time where people said Fear was better than the main show, and I agreed. Even though season 3 of Fear had its problems, it was still better than season 7 and season 8. Dan says, and Angela actually listening to the fans, we wanted a winter episode and we got one. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I don't understand. I feel like I wonder how she did it. Like, I feel like Gimple really could have done one back in season 6. Like, I don't understand why he didn't do that. But yeah, I mean the winter episode, that was alright, but I was just wondering. So, Dan and Epic Zombie Killer. So, the finale of season 9 was a little boring, but if I wrote it, I would have done this. So, because it's a winter episode, what I would have done to make it more interesting is I would have had when the group from the kingdom is going to the hilltop in Alexandria, to spice things up in the story, I would have had them be attacked by wolves. Like, yeah, no joking. I would have actually had them trying to cross a frozen lake, and wolves come out of nowhere and start attacking them, like a pack of them. And we actually see some deaths, like not characters we know, but just some deaths to show like not like walkers are not the only things that can eat people. You know what I mean? Um, like basically is what I would have done. And when they get to the sanctuary, I would have had it where people of the kingdom are fighting over food or what food they have left, and basically we have like a fight break out. Like I would have done something like that, and I would have had more tension. Have more realistic tension in the finale of season 9, basically to spice up the finale and kind of flesh out the people from the kingdom, because I feel like we've never done that in the show. In season 7, we got a little bit of the kingdom. Like when we saw the kingdom in season 7, like there were only a couple of characters that we started to like. There was Ezekiel, there was Jerry, there was Benjamin, but the kingdom really hasn't had new characters introduced that we like. You know what I mean? Because a lot of those characters have died. So I mean, I just don't know. But yeah, what do you guys think of my idea? Dan said, "Oh, Epic Zombie Killer says, yeah, I absolutely hated Martha. I couldn't stand her. Yeah, me either." Epic Zombie Killer. Dan says, I know, it's like, why even have her there? I have no idea. Dan says, Wolfpack would have been awesome. We need that to happen. Yeah, we definitely needed that, Dan. I remember writing in the comments about the finale, like people reviewing it, and I said, that it needed a Wolfpack, when they were crossing a lake or something. And what I would have had it where, the men of the group they form a circle, like all the survivors form into a circle, and the men are outside of the circle with knives. You have Daryl, you have Carol with her knives, like all this stuff. And I basically would have had it where the people who can fight are defending, the women and children in the inner circle. I would have had like so much tension, like I would have shown like these are feral wolves, or something. Like I just would have done something like that to spice it up, because in The Walking Dead we always see walkers eating people or survivors, and that makes sense. But we definitely should have gotten like wolves doing it at some point, or dogs or just something, just to show like there's still threats in this world, you know. But yeah, thank you, Dan. Epic Zombie Killer says, I especially hated that she had the SWAT truck. Sorry, I'm just a big car guy. I love cars, but yeah, I wanted Althea to get it back in season 4. Yeah, I don't understand how Martha got the SWAT truck. I mean, that was just like, how do you lose that? That's like your most important thing. I mean, that was just terrible. Eastside Badger, hey Eastside Badger, glad you made it. He says definitely wolves. Geez, even a mountain lion would have been cool. Yeah, yeah, Eastside Badger, I agree. If you didn't hear what I would have done in the season 9 finale when the group was crossing, I would have had them crossing this big frozen lake, and then just a pack of wolves or maybe even a mountain lion just come and like they take like out one of the survivors from the kingdom, and like the survivors have to like form a circle, to protect the women and children, and you have Daryl, Carol, Ezekiel, Jerry on the outside of the circle, and basically it's like a fight going on, and basically like they either kill the thing that's attacking them or they make them go away. But I just would have had more, tension and fighting in that episode, and I don't know why, but I've always liked that. Like that idea in The Walking Dead where the characters are just trying to do something simple, cross a lake, and instead of the lake cracking like it's a cliche, instead something just unexpected happens. Like wolves attacking. Dan says, yes, guys, we should have done the season finale because wow, I love that. Um, yeah, thank you, Dan. I'm really glad you like my idea. I'm not sure how that would have worked into the budget, but I mean, they could have done something. I mean, like the wolves, like you could have like fake wolves, obviously, like like realistic like puppets or something to make them look real, or just something, because it would have worked. But yeah, I would have loved to see that, because like imagine the terror on people's faces. I mean, this would be like a really scary scene, like something out of like survivalist movies. Like I don't know if you guys have watched survivalist movies. Wasn't there that movie with Liam Neeson, about wolves and stuff? Like, I mean, they could have just went brutal with it. I mean, that just would have been amazing. Epic Zombie Killer says, yeah, like yeah, the main show could definitely use that SWAT truck. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer, but I mean, they definitely could use it, but they don't have the ammo, I don't think. Eastside Badger says, how come no dangerous predators in The Walking Dead? US has bears, wolves, coyotes, mountain lions, bobcats, venomous snakes, and gators. Um, well, Eastside Badger, it's budget, obviously. That's why, like I said, I think that wolves or mountain lions in the finale of season 9, with when they're trying to cross to during the snowstorm, I think that would have been much more interesting. I mean, yeah, we got to see dogs back in season 5, but I don't know. I mean, a bear, that would be crazy. But yeah, they really need to do something like that. As far as snakes and gators, I mean, snakes, we've seen a couple of them. As far as gators, they're like in Florida, so it makes sense why they're not in Alexandria. But I think there was a gator in Fear, but like that was pretty much no obstacle. Epic Zombie Killer says, which is funny because Days Gone is a zombie game and it's got bears in it. Yeah, Epic Zombie Killer, but it's a game, so it's much more easier to do than like a series like The Walking Dead, like a movie. It's easier to animate than it's easier to animate in the game than in a show or movie. But I was wondering, so since we've been going on for an hour and 40 minutes, if you guys can make if you guys can make the perfect Walking Dead game, what would you do? So one thing I would do is I remember Epic Zombie Killer and Dan were talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. So one thing I would do is I would make the people Rocksteady who made Red Dead Redemption 2, I would try to get them to make an open world Walking Dead game where you can just explore and there's new, things to do and the story is constantly changing. Like like a Walking Dead game like Red Dead Redemption style would be amazing. Like what do you guys think? Dan says budget is unfortunately a big problem. I mean, Shiva was only in like I think 5 episodes in 2 seasons. Yeah, that's true, Dan. But I think that it could have worked with the wolves because it's kind of dark and like there's like snow, so the CGI or whatever doesn't have to be perfect. It's not like the CGI with the CGI deer back in season 7 when it was a sunny day. You know, the wolves don't have to like look amazing. I guess what I'm trying to say, but they just have to look better than the CGI deer. And yeah, I mean, I mean, there's always ways to get around the budget, you know. But yeah. Um, let's see. While I let's see. While I wait. Yeah. So if you guys can think of if there was a Walking Dead game, what would you guys want in it? Like, just curious. Like, just try to give me some ideas. Let's uh, let's see. Definitely open world. A Walking Dead game needs to be open world. I played all the Telltale games, the Walking Dead Telltale games, and they were amazing. But one of the main problems with it is that it wasn't open world. So that was one issue with the game series. So yeah, um, that's let's see. That's pretty much all I got right now. Oh, let's see. Eastside Badger says, I love the open world idea for a Walking Dead game and real Walking Dead characters. Do you mean real Walking Dead characters in the main show, Eastside Badger? Because, I mean, like, would it be canon to the main show? Or, like, because how would you fit that in the timeline? Because, there might be a consistency issue because I don't want a Walking Dead game that's inconsistent. If it, like, I don't want to be Gimple here. I don't want to be inconsistent when I'm writing a story in the same universe as The Walking Dead. But yeah, I agree. Epic Zombie Killer says, yeah, I'd have an open world game like Grand Theft Auto, and you play as Rick, and you have to do missions and have an engaging story. And Dan says, same, something like that. Um, yeah, I don't know. Would you guys really want it to be about Rick and the characters? Like, would you have it in the same universe as the comic, or in the show, or maybe like a third universe where we play as Rick, but we get to make different choices than he did in the show. But I don't know. That might be an issue with I wonder if that would be an issue. But like, would you guys have it like the game is like an alternate universe from the show, but it's based on the show in a way? Like, there's three Walking Dead universes: the comic, show, and the video games. Like they become separate. Dan says it's like the plague, but the Walking Dead at the same time. Epic Zombie Killer. Um, Oh, that was for Epic Zombie Killer. Um, yeah, I know in the Walking Dead games you need a good story, but one thing I would definitely do is I think I would still have choices like the Telltale games, because obviously in the Walking Dead universe you need to have choices. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have tried The Last of Us, but The Last of Us is a really great game, and I would love a Walking Dead game made like that. But the problem with The Last of Us is it doesn't have choices. It's somewhat open world, but not as big as Red Dead Redemption 2, obviously. Epic Zombie Killer says, funny, all the Walking Dead games have been based around the comic, whereas the show games have been failures. Survival Instinct is a great example. Yeah, Epic Zombie Killer, absolutely agreed. Survival Instinct is not only the worst Walking Dead game and the only like TV show game, it is absolutely terrible. Like it is such a cash grab, and not only that, it is super inconsistent with everything that's been established in The Walking Dead, like the universe, everything, even the Daryl character. Because in the game, there's so many questions that you still have, like it's not interesting at all, and like the beginning of the game, I mean, to be fair, I think Daryl does mention that his dad died in the apocalypse at the beginning, but Daryl and Merle are like separated in the beginning of the apocalypse. Like right before the apocalypse starts, they're separated, and Daryl goes to get Merle. He's able to find him, which I don't know. It's kind of cliche, like, or it's kind of unrealistic, And then, they like Daryl actually is like in the game he actually fires like a machine gun, and that's just too much. Like if you don't know how the game works, like he fires like a military machine gun, and they're outside of Atlanta, but they don't get there. And then also a problem with the game is there's no more. Daryl doesn't have his bike, in the game at all. So that's already one thing that's very inconsistent. So that doesn't really make much sense. Dan says The Last of Us is the one very popular game. I've never tried it. I probably should try it. Yeah, Dan. I mean, if you like zombie apocalypse stories, The Last of Us is amazing. And the one thing with it though is there's so little to go off of it though. Like there's no choices in the game, and there's only one game. The second game is coming out, but there's so little. The Last of Us, you know. But the Walking Dead Telltale games, like there's 4 seasons, whereas The Last of Us there's only one game. So it's kind of hard to, you know. I mean, like I like the Walking Dead Telltale games more, but The Last of Us is really great. Also, I'm not gonna spoil it, but like The Last of Us, it doesn't have very many characters. Like the cast is pretty small, you know. So yeah, it's not like the Telltale games. You know, the cast is really small. But one thing I would definitely do in a Walking Dead game is, I would definitely have like a meters for like food and water, definitely, and gathering supplies. That's one thing in a Walking Dead game that I would definitely do. If I could make a Walking Dead game, I would definitely have, the story focus on gathering supplies because, you know, we don't really see that enough in the Walking Dead main show anymore, and I don't know, it's just weird. Dan says, I heard the story is really great though. Yeah, it really is, Dan. It's just that there's a very small cast in the game, and it's only one game. There's not much, to sink your teeth into. You know, Epic Zombie Killer says Survival Instinct could have been amazing. It had potential because you're playing as Daryl, one of the biggest characters in The Walking Dead, and they butchered him. Yeah, exactly, Epic Zombie Killer. They made it so inconsistent. Like Daryl, when we first see him in season 1, he's he's a tough character, but he's not like the cartoon Daryl now, or like back in season 7 and 8. Like Daryl in the game, he's like unstoppable, unbeatable, he could do anything, but that wasn't Daryl in season 1. Like if you go back and watch it, season 1 Daryl had his limitations, he wasn't great at everything, and also like it still doesn't make sense. Like Merle had this truck, and if you go back in season 1, Merle had this truck, and Daryl had his bike. But in the games, we never get to see those vehicles, and it doesn't make sense where Merle and Daryl could have gotten them. That doesn't really make much sense. And also, Daryl looks like he did in season 3, like pretty much exactly, but he should look like season 1 Daryl. So that doesn't make much sense because in the game, Daryl in Survival Instinct, Daryl kills like hundreds of walkers, but when you look in the show back in season 1, he just does not seem like a character who's killed hundreds of walkers easily because he still struggles sometimes with them. Back in season 1, he's one of the best in the group killing walkers, but if he killed hundreds of them, like, it shouldn't be that difficult when you go back in season 1. So yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say. I haven't seen Eastside Badger in a while. Are you still here, Eastside Badger? It says there's only 2 viewers right now, so did any of you guys possibly leave? Let's see, we've been going on for an hour and 47 minutes now. I don't know, I might cut this stream a little early. There's not really much to talk about or to go on, unfortunately. But, I mean, I really don't want to end it yet, but it looks like we're all cut up now, and I'm just not sure what we can talk about. Let's see. So I'm guessing, Dan, are you still here? Epic Zombie Killer, I'm guessing. Well, are you still here? I'm just. I hope I don't seem impatient, guys. The stream's it's going kind of slow right now, and I don't know. I might end it soon. I wish there was more people. Epic Zombie Killer says, but yeah, all the games based on the comics have been successful, especially the Telltale games. Well, I mean, not exactly Epic Zombie Killer. There was that game that was supposed to come out, but they canceled it, and season 3 of the Telltale game Walking Dead did pretty horrible, and there's a lot of reasons why, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. I mean, I could explain it, but I think Dan's gonna play it, so I don't really want to spoil it. Dan says I'm still here. Well, thank you, Dan. I'm just not sure who. If I think Eastside Badger, maybe he left. I have a feeling he left, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any more people coming. I don't know. I was hoping to do this stream earlier in the day, like 8 p.m. Like I thought that's better than doing it like at 9 or 10, because that would give people more time. And also I had this stream being built up for like 3 days. So I was hoping some more people would come. But I mean, I appreciate you guys who came. I really do. It's just I was just really wish there was more people. Um, because I'm running out of. Well, it seems like we're running out of things to talk about, and the stream's going kind of slow. I'm just waiting here a lot for responses. But yeah, and Dan, I think you finished season 1 of the Telltale game. Yeah, I highly recommend season 2. Season 3 is not the greatest one, but it is in a way kind of necessary to the story, and season 4 is amazing. So I recommend the Telltale games. They're really amazing. Epic Zombie Killer says, so Brian, have you played Red Dead Redemption 2? I have not, but I've watched the whole gameplay, and it's amazing. I mean, like, it is an amazing, like, open world experience. It's just that I don't really like the cast too much, like, the characters, and, like, the world that they're in. It's just that, um, I'm just not really for the whole cowboy gunslinging outlaw thing. It's just not my thing. But if it was a Walking Dead game instead, I definitely would have bought and played it. You know, because I think it would have made the perfect Walking Dead game. I mean, open world choices, like a morality level, like that's what they did in Red Dead Redemption 2. Like they have a morality level where you can either be like 50% good, 50% bad, or 100% good, 100% bad, based on what things you do. And they definitely could have done something like that in The Walking Dead, you know. Um, let's see. Dan says, "Yeah, I agree. It sounds like the later streams work better for most people." Um, well, I'll keep that in mind, Dan. I I thought earlier streams would give people more time, but it seems like the later ones. I'm gonna try maybe next stream. I'm gonna try like around 9 or 10ish. I can't do streams like if I'm gonna do streams for like 2 hours. I don't want to do it like past 10 o'clock. So I kind of want to at the latest just do it at 9. So I'm gonna try like maybe like 9 next time. Yeah. But yeah, thanks, Dan. I definitely want to try and get some more people here, mix it up more. And let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says, but yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of season 2 of Telltale's The Walking Dead. It's mainly because of the cabin group. Yeah, the cabin group it's pretty weak, but it's better than season three's group. Season 4 had like the group was like I think just as good as season 1. Like they were really good, but the season 2 group was pretty bad, you know? Like I mean, I don't want to really spoil it for Dan, but yeah, you say that cabin group, I couldn't stand them. They were all unlikable. I don't think they were all unlikable, but a lot of them were. And I wish I could explain who I liked, who I didn't like, but I definitely liked some of them, and some of them started to grow on me. But other ones, like I completely forgot about or just didn't like in the slightest bit. There were a couple of them. I don't want to spoil it for Dan, because even though season 2 is like the second worst season, it still is really good, in its own way. It really does a lot of stuff for Clementine's character. It really develops her character and makes her very interesting. So I'll say that. Um, I'll talk about this more hopefully when Dan plays season 2, or at least knows about it, because I don't want to spoil it for him. I mean, I played season 2. I remember when I got season 2, it was amazing, but it kind of got a little bit boring somewhat, especially the cabin group. Epic Zombie Killer says, also, it would have been amazing if Telltale introduced or made a standalone Negan game. Yeah, that would have been amazing, Epic Zombie Killer. I know there was the Michonne one, but I hated the Michonne game that Telltale did. I hated it with a passion so much. I mean, that was just terrible what they did with the Michonne game. Eastside Badger, hey, glad you're back. He says yes, we need a Negan game. Yeah, that would have been amazing. Except one thing is, with the Telltale games, you have the choice of what to say, and I feel like everyone would choose the F word, in whatever Negan says, because in the Telltale games, you have the choice of saying 3 sentences or just saying nothing, and I feel like everyone, or at least Negan, would always pick the F word, or like, I don't know, it's just I feel like that's what he would do. But yeah, that would have been interesting. A lot of cursing would have been in that game. Dan says a Negan game would definitely be awesome. Yeah, I mean, I agree, Dan. It definitely, I think, would have been better than than the Michonne game because, like, I'm not gonna spoil it, but the Michonne game was just really bad. It did not do service to the character. It was a cash grab, and there's inconsistencies and a lot of questions too that the game brings up, and we never get answers for, unfortunately. Um, but a Negan game would have been interesting. Eastside Badger says Norman Reedus has a new video game, but it's not zombie related, and I forgot the name of it. It's called Death Stranding. Eastside Badger, at least I think it is, and I heard it did horrible. And I've seen some of the game. It's too confusing, and the story is really bad, and the gameplay is not that great either. The game did horrible. Like even Norman Reedus couldn't save that game. And it wasn't the actor, Norman Reedus. It was just the writing team and just what they had in mind for the game. It just did not work. Epic Zombie Killer says like they should have, instead of a Michonne mini series, that should have been about Negan. Yeah, I agree. It's Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, Michonne, she's an okay, like she in the comic, like she's one of the main protagonists, but she should not have her own game. She shouldn't have. And Negan, he definitely should have had his own game. Eastside Badger says still here. Well, I'm glad you're still here, Eastside Badger. It's just that like I thought you were gone because we didn't see we didn't see your comments in a while, and I figured that you left. Like the stream was slowing down like heavily, so yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. Hopefully hopefully the stream won't slow down so much. Dan says I just looked it up. It's Death Stranding. Yeah, Dan. It just, I don't know. It wasn't a good game, but they had some decent ideas with it, like Norman Reedus, like it, but it unfortunately couldn't save the game. Epic Zombie Killer says, yeah, I passed on that game. Yeah, it just was not a good game. The gameplay was bad, like the walking, and there were a lot of glitches, bugs, and the story was so confusing. The story was not interesting in the slightest. It was not relatable. Like that's why The Walking Dead works so well. It's a zombie apocalypse, but the story in that game is just so confusing. And Dan agrees. Epic Zombie Killer says simply because of it was too confusing for me. Yeah, that's exactly what happened with me, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, I didn't get the game, but I saw it online, and it's just too confusing. I don't understand what's going on. Like in The Walking Dead, it's simple, but it's also complex. What's happening, and it just works. I mean, like The Walking Dead, it like I said, it's a zombie apocalypse, but they do interesting things in it. But in the game, they didn't do any interesting things with it. I don't think. Let's see. Eastside Badger says I didn't leave. I'm glad you didn't, Eastside Badger. I appreciate it. I just thought you left because the stream was really slow and I didn't see you anywhere, and I figured you left. But yeah, sorry. Let's see. We're all cut up now. Wow, we're almost 2 hours now. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of if we have anything else you guys want to talk about, but I'm honestly not too sure. I mean, we talked about the Gimple interviews. We talked about a perfect Walking Dead game. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says, I know a lot of people hate on Days Gone, but at least it's got a straight story. Yeah, exactly, Epic Zombie Killer. Like, Days Gone was better than Death Stranding because the story still made more sense, there were some issues with it, like I didn't like the main character or the whole bike mechanic thing, and I definitely think they could have done better with, like some parts in the story, but it wasn't as bad as Death Stranding, and if Days Gone is like how a Walking Dead game would be, like a couple of changes and it would have been perfect, and because it was open world, and it actually had a straight story. Don't Although a problem with the game is I don't think it really had choices, and I don't know. That's just I feel like a game needs that, Epic Zombie Killer says, "Hey, what's the best and worst Walking Dead merch?" I'm not really sure exactly, Epic Zombie Killer. That's kind of tricky. Can you give me some examples? Cause I'm not really sure. Hmm. Yeah, that's really tough to say because I haven't really bought Walking Dead merch in like it's been like a year at least. I haven't bought it in a while. But as far as like the best, like I mean, does that include the comics? Oh, as far as like the worst, like getting season 7 and season 8 on Blu-ray, that's gotta be like the worst, I would say. But as far as like the best, like obviously like like an action figure of Negan or a Lucille Bat. But I don't have a Lucille Bat. Dan says the best is definitely the figures for me. Yeah, I mean the figures I would say definitely like I'm glad I got a Glenn figure and a Negan figure, but I don't have a Negan Bat, but they're definitely you know they're definitely some of the best merch I would say. And let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says, fun fact, Deacon, the main character in Days Gone, was played by Sam Witwer. He played the Walker. He played the Walker in the Tank from season 1. Oh wow. Um, wow, I didn't know that, Epic Zombie Killer. Thank you. Wow, that's crazy. It's just that I feel like Deacon, he wasn't really a good character. I feel like they should have just like taken the character like from the tank, like the walker. Imagine if like the guy who became a walker in that tank, imagine if he was the main character instead in this game. I feel like that would have been more interesting than what we got in Days Gone. But that's interesting. Thank you. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says there are some figures that are pretty bad. Oh, the princess. Yes, the princess has got to be one of the worst merchandise for The Walking Dead. The princess character action figure. She has to be one of the worst. I'm gonna say that right now. Um, let's see. Dan says the Shane is terrible. Yeah, I mean Shane's sure. Dan, that's he's probably up there, but I just want let's just say the princess. Or I'll just say the princess, just to simplify it. But yeah, the Shane was bad. I mean, the box was badly wrapped, and he didn't really look like the comic Shane, and or maybe that was the TV Shane. Maybe that's the TV Shane figure. It didn't look like him either, I don't think. But yeah, I think it's for the TV show actually, but I'm not really sure. I haven't seen that figure in a while, but he's pretty bad. Yeah. Epic Zombie Killer says, I mean, Days Gone, it does have Walking Dead vibes, especially the whole biker thing. Yeah, but I definitely think like they shouldn't have done the whole biker thing because like we have the Walking Dead main show, Daryl, the whole biker thing. We have Ride with Norman Reedus. Like we don't need a game where you're riding around on a bike. Like I feel like that's one problem with the game. The whole biker thing. Like Deacon was just not an interesting protagonist, and I just didn't like the whole biker thing. It just felt a little off to me. It's a zombie apocalypse and they still act like bikers. Like that's kind of stupid. Basically is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, I feel like they should not have done the whole biker thing. Just because it's too similar to Walking Dead and Ride with Norman Reedus. Like we really didn't need it. Plus it just feels off. Dan says, by the way, easy to forget the princess is coming to the show soon, unfortunately. Yeah, Dan, and I mean I'm not gonna spoil it, but I think I did see a picture from the Spoiling Dead fans, and I think rumor has it, or let me just say that I think that she does look a lot like the comic version. Like I don't think they made her look any like realistic at all to the show. Like I think she looks identical to the comic version. I'm just gonna say that, and I don't know. I really don't want that. Like I wanted her to have a leather purple jacket and to have like dark black hair, not purple dyed hair. Like and unfortunately it looks like we're gonna get that in the show, which I just hate. You know, Princess, she's one of the worst characters Kermit ever introduced, and it looks like she's gonna be like that in the show. Epic Zombie Killer says, but yeah, I wonder if Princess will work in the show. Well, like I said, Epic Zombie Killer, if Princess, if she had long black hair instead and had a leather purple jacket and was made somewhat more realistic, it could have worked. Like her character could have worked. She could have looked more realistic, and that's the only way I could see it working. But because it looks like she's gonna look exactly the same as the comic, I don't see it working at all. I think people are gonna hate how she looks. Dan says, I think she might be in the finale, but I could be wrong. I mean, we think that Maggie's gonna return in the finale too, so I wonder if Maggie's gonna return with the princess. Although I don't know why she would return with the princess. She should return with Eduardo, or someone like. If you don't know who Eduardo is, he's from the hilltop, and he's like Cal's best friend, and he's Hispanic, and basically yeah, like that's Eduardo, and we haven't seen him like at all. I don't think in season 9 or season 10, so I don't know where he is. But they said he was still alive, so I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I mean, I don't like what they're gonna do with the princess. Eastside Badger says, "Princess, was Kurtman trying at the end? Geez, I doubt her character will work on the show." Yeah, I agree, Eastside Badger. I don't think her character is gonna work at all in the show. I mean, even Magna and her group is not working in the show. I mean, like people don't like Kelly. Kelly is just not interesting. Connie's deaf. Like they're just doing weird things with these female characters from the comic, and I don't know. It's just I don't think it's gonna work for everyone. Epic Zombie Killer says, like, yeah, I agree. The comics were a bit goofy, so Princess her look works for the comics, but not the show. Yeah, I mean, absolutely agreed. Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, like, remember what happened with Ezekiel? Like, Ezekiel was not that cartoony in the show, and people still thought he was too goofy. As soon as season 10 introduces the princess, people are going to hate her and they're going to demand Angela King change it or something like that. And I don't know. I don't understand why, if this is correct, I don't understand why Angela King did not change the princess in the show. If you're going to introduce her, at least make her look more realistic, like I described. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen, unfortunately. Dan says people would hate her. I just know it. LOL. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I mean, I just know that people are going to hate the princess in the show because people hated her in the comic, and in the show, people didn't like how Ezekiel was acting all goofy, and Princess is like 1,000 times more goofy. So we know that she's going to be even worse than people saw Ezekiel. So yeah, I mean, and it stinks because they're probably gonna make her like a main character or something, or like fleshed out pretty well. But like we still have not really done too much with Magna's group. I mean, people don't like Magna, and Connie. Who knows? She can die. People are don't know about Yumiko, and no one likes Kelly. I don't think. So I don't know. Magna's group. They still need more time in the show, but it looks like we're getting the princess. So yeah, sorry, my throat is a little dry. Okay, guys. It's about 2 hours and 7 minutes. I'm gonna try and get us to the 30-hour mark. I mean, not 30-hour, 30-minute mark. I am not streaming for 30 hours. Um, yeah, I'm gonna try and get it 2 hours and 30 minutes exactly. So yeah, if you guys can stay or you want to stay until I make it, for another 23 more minutes, that sounds good. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says, like, yeah, also I wonder who will get Dwight's comic death. Daryl, no way. So I wonder who will get it. Yeah, Epic Zombie Killer. I wonder that too, but we're still wondering who's going to get Gabriel's comic death. So I think we should wait on that first and then make our predictions. But, like, I thought that, some characters. Well, let's see. I mean, obviously Dwight's not going to get it. Daryl is not going to get it at all either. There's no way. I mean, it's just crazy. Like Daryl has stolen everything from Dwight. His story, his freedom, everything. He even stole his spot on the show, and he's not even going to steal his death. Like Daryl has taken all the good stuff that Dwight had, you know, story wise, but he's not going to take his death. Like that's just I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I mean, who knows? It could be you know what? It could be Magna. Like it could be someone like Magna. Who knows? They could make her into like an anti-hero or something before her death. I mean, you never know how they can write it. But yeah, I mean, you know what? Let's just say Magna. I'm just gonna say Magna. She's gonna get that death. Gabriel's gonna get his comic death, and Magna's gonna get Dwight's comic death. Makes the most sense. I mean, if you guys agree or disagree, just let me know. But yeah, I'm gonna say Magna. Let's see. We talked about the Telltale games, Gimple's interviews, Fear. We talked about Perfect Walking Dead game, The Princess. I'm trying to think, have we missed anyone? Let's see. I guess while we wait for comments to come in, I guess let's see. Trying to think of something I haven't talked about before. Oh, Dan says, yeah, actually, yeah, Magna makes sense. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it could be someone like Magna. I kept thinking like it has to be a male character, but then I was thinking like, no, it doesn't have to be, a male character. It could be a female character. Epic Zombie Killer says Daryl has been doing that for a few seasons. He took Tyrese's arc and Abraham's arc. Yeah, and don't forget Glenn's. He definitely took some of Glenn's too. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Daryl overall has been a good addition to the show, but he took so much story from so many comic characters, like good comic characters, that it's just sad. He's taken Tyrese's arcs, Abraham's and Glenn's. So yeah, it's just um I mean, I understand Daryl, he's a right hand man, but my goodness, they use Daryl too much at times in the show. You say like, yeah, if Daryl wasn't in the show, Tyrese wouldn't have been so watered down. Yeah, yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, Tyrese in the show, I like Glenn in the show more than the comic, Abraham more in the show than the comic, but Tyrese is the only one from those three that I liked more in the comic than the show. And I'm not saying it was the actor, but Chad Coleman, I don't think he could have played Tyrese. I just don't think he was the right, actor for that role, and the writing for him was just terrible too. They made him like a pacifist, and not only that, but it was Gimple too. Gimple did that to Tyrese. He made him a pacifist, and I don't know what it is with Gimple making tough characters pacifists. I really don't understand what it is, but it seems like he did that. And I mean, I don't know. It's just it would have been nice to see comic Tyrese brought to life, but unfortunately, we never got that. Um, yeah, but yeah, I mean, Tyrese was really watered down. Like, did he even kill a character on screen in the show? Like, can you guys think of like Tyrese in the comic? He was, you know, like he was a go-getter. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, but in the show, he was like. It was like he was like Father Gabriel or something. He was like another Father Gabriel or some. I just don't know. But yeah, I mean, I would not have done that to the character. I mean, my goodness. Yeah, I definitely would have done something else to Tyrese in the show. I would have made him a lot tougher, and who knows, maybe I would have given him the Lucille death. Dan says Tyrese in the show was way too weak for the world he was in. Yeah, yeah, I agree, Dan. And that doesn't make sense either because, you know, like I don't understand the cliche of like a soft teddy bear. Like people said that Tyrese was that kind of character where he was a big guy but he had a soft heart. That's such a cliche because, you know, when push comes to shove, even those type of guys will get their hands dirty. And that's what happened with comic Tyrese. He had his moments of anger and when it involved his daughter, he got angry, but we never got to see that on the show. And I never understood that. He's definitely too weak, but Tyrese, he should not have been a Dale. Dale was too weak for the world as well, but it makes sense why he had to go. But Tyrese, there was no reason. Epic Zombie Killer says, like, yeah, Tyrese was an amazing character in the comics. He was strong and yeah, and wanted to kill the governor. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. I don't know what it is with Gimple sometimes making characters pacifist, but he does that. And as far as I mean, to be fair, like yes, Tyrese wasn't like that he was kind of like that in season 3, somewhat of a pacifist, but they made him way too much in season 4 and season 5, you know, under Gimple's writing. And like as far as like that's what I liked about Tyrese in the comic too. Like he actually wanted to protect the group. He was okay with dying for the group. He was fine with all of that. And in the show, he just got bitten by a 10-year-old kid who was a walker and just died. And I'm sorry, that's just a terrible way for him to go out. Like Tyrese's death just in the comic, it was just so well done for the character. It made him such a great character, but in the show, it made him just a weak character. Dan says Chad did a good job, but the character wasn't the best. I mean, maybe Dan. I don't know. Like I wanted to see visually, comic Tyrese, and I'm sure Chad Coleman could have played off the comic Tyrese more, but I mean, because we never got to pretty much see any of that, like, I, I don't know if he could have done it just because we didn't get to see it. But yeah, anytime a character I don't like in the show, I'm gonna blame the writing first, not the actor or actress. I'm gonna blame the writing before the person in real life. Epic Zombie Killer says also Tyrese in the show he got Morgan's comic death. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Epic Zombie Killer. That's true. And it's just that like in the comic, Tyrese he he had such a noble death, but in the show he just died because he got careless. And I don't know, it's just I mean Morgan didn't need to get his comic death, but giving it to Tyrese just felt like such a mistake. I feel like someone else could have gotten that death and or no one could have died. I just don't know. I mean, if I was writing it, I would have tried to write Tyrese as a tougher character and maybe given him the Lucille death. And that way Glenn and Abraham could have survived, the series, and Abraham would die in All Out War, and then Glenn could still be alive or something like that. I don't know, just something like that. I would have done if I was writing it. Maybe kept Tyrese, for the Negan, Lucille lineup. I don't know. Like, would you guys have liked to see Tyrese in the lineup? Like, cause that could have worked. You know, I don't know. It's just personally my idea. Let's see. Let's see. Um, let's see what else. Well, Denise. I'm just gonna say Denise too. Not only was the not the acting. I don't know if the acting was. I wouldn't say it was terrible, but I just feel like it didn't fit. But as far as the writing, yeah, Denise's writing was just not that good. Epic Zombie Killer says that was way too many characters. Bob, Beth, Tyrese, all in one season. And don't forget Noah too. They killed off Noah in like let's see, like six. No, no, not six. 5 episodes after Tyrese, and I don't know why, but I mean, I'm sure other people noticed. But out of the 4 characters that died in Rick's group in season 5, 3 of them were African American males, and I'm not saying like the show obviously I'm not gonna say like during that time it was just the show was racist, but I'm just saying it was a little bit off. Like, did anyone notice that too? Like they, killed off Bob and then Tyrese and then Noah. I don't know. Just did that feel off to anyone? Like, did you guys feel like Noah didn't have to die? Like that was a really unnecessary death, especially after Bob, Beth, and Tyrese. Because we needed the death of Alexandrians in the second half of season 5, not Rick's group. And Eastside Badger says yes, Magna needs to go. I mean, honestly, Eastside Badger, I'm okay with that. If Magna gets Dwight's comic death, like I would be okay with that because she has not been an interesting character, and I don't know. It's just, I mean, I don't know if it's the actress, but definitely the writing for the character. She just does not work. Magna in the comics, she was, very nice and willing to help out. She was a little bit suspicious, but she, was a good person and didn't want to hurt anyone or rob anyone. But Magna in the show is just not the same, and I just don't care about her relationship with Yumiko. We still have not developed both of them, so I don't know. Dan says, "Yeah, Magna isn't the most interesting character in the show." Yeah, Dan, she's one of the least interesting characters in the show, honestly, and that's bad because she's the leader of her group, so you think she would be the most interesting, but she isn't. It's Connie, the only person in the group who cannot speak or hear anything. So yeah, I mean, I just don't know. But and Luke is pretty good too, but I feel like they might kill off Luke. Epic Zombie Killer says, "Yeah, Noah should have lived because Beth died for him, so him dying made Beth's sacrifice worthless." Yeah, exactly, Epic Zombie Killer. I don't understand why they killed off Noah, and not only that, but they could have kept Noah alive to No Way Out because Reg, Deanna's husband, he was the architect for the walls of Alexandria. So Noah, after Reg's death, and after No Way Out, he could have told Rick how he had notes for Reg from Reg, and he could use those notes to put up back the walls and make them stronger. Like that actually could have been something Noah did as a character. That could have like he loses his family, he loses Beth, but he gains a new family and a new purpose in the story, and that's to help rebuild Alexandria after No Way Out. Like if I was writing that, that's what I would have done because they were setting that up. And Eastside Badger says, I like Noah, but Beth wasn't really popular. Well, I kind of disagree with that, Eastside Badger, just a little bit, because Beth, even though she wasn't like Daryl or Carol level, she was somewhat popular, or at least she was she was very loved. Because if you look on people's reactions, everyone was shocked and very sad that she died. And her death made no sense to the story either because it didn't move anyone's story forward. And I don't know, it just didn't make sense. So like also like Beth, like they were building her up and then just killed her off, so I don't really understand that. But as far as like Beth wasn't popular, like she wasn't the most popular, but she was definitely like at least somewhere in the fan favorite area, you know. But yeah, it is. We've been going on for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm going to say we have about. I'm going to give it another 10 minutes. Are you guys okay with that? I Yeah, it's 10:30 right now. I really should wrap this up soon. But yeah. Oh, and Dan says, "Poor Noah. Thanks to Nick. Thanks a lot, stupid Nicholas." Yeah, I hated Nicholas in the show, Dan. I don't understand what they were doing with him. I mean, he had a son, Mikey. Like, I don't understand what they were doing with the character. He was a coward. He was just terrible. Like, I don't understand what Gimple was thinking when he wrote that character. If I was writing it, I would have made Nicholas a lot like the comic. But they made him like that in the show, and I just don't understand why they did that. And and Glenn too, like I don't understand why I didn't have Glenn kill him. Like that doesn't make sense to me either. Like and then Nicholas did the whole dumpster thing, and it's just that was such a big mistake what they did with Nicholas in the story and as a character because I don't understand what they were doing. No, Nicholas has to be one of the worst, if not the worst, character from the comic adapted in the show. And yeah, I mean Noah's death was just tragic, and it should not have happened. Eastside Badger says Gimple waters the alpha males down because he's a beta. Yeah, exactly, Eastside Badger. I don't know what it is, but yeah, like Tyrese, he's an alpha, and Gimple watered him down big time. And also in the comics, Kelly is. Oh, never mind. That's a different character. The show does water down a lot of male alpha males, and I don't really understand that, but yeah, he definitely does that, or at least he makes a lot of characters pacifists, which I really disagree with. Making a character a pacifist in The Walking Dead is just a mistake. Epic Zombie Killer says, "Yeah, I agree. Magna was a fan favorite in the comics, whereas the show Magna is unlikable. Why are they making her unlikable?" I have no idea, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, maybe they think that the whole lesbian, like drama is interesting, or at least, you know, like present it to the audience, but I don't care about it. I'm not interested in it, in their relationship. I'm just not. It doesn't feel real to me. As far as I mean, they could be setting up someone's death. Yumiko's or Magna's in a few seasons. They could be setting up one of their deaths. Dan says, by the way, I think it's time for me to do my top 10 worst characters. So maybe this Sunday I'll do that for you guys. Well, maybe Dan. If you need some help with that, just let me know. Because as far as worst characters, like Jared, Nicholas, like let me think, they're definitely like top two, I would say. And as far as worst characters, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's pretty much it. As long as you have Jared and Nicholas like around like the top somewhere. But yeah, if you need any more help, just let me know. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says it's funny how in the show they made all the male Alexandrians unlikable, and the females were likable. Kind of weird. Yeah, I don't understand that either. Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, like, so like in the comic, there was like Denise, Olivia. Like yeah, Olivia. I really liked Olivia in the show. She was a nice character, a sweetheart, and I did not want to see her die like that. Not that soon. And they killed her off for shock value, and I just was so mad. And as far as the male Alexandrians unlikable, I feel like we could have had I feel like they should have added like TV only Alexandrians, like they should have introduced Heath, Scott, and Denise back in season 5, and they should have made them kind of different characters, somewhat, or at least made them more interesting and likable. They should have got Corey back in season 5 and Denise in season 5, and maybe played by a different actress. And obviously, the writing for her has changed. And I would have introduced like some TV only Alexandrians and made them with the purpose of just being likable. Like I would have like a few TV only Alexandrians, not from the comic, and just make them extremely likable. At least one male and one female, and like maybe they're a couple or something, and just basically made them extremely likable and had them be like maybe one of the last survivors in Alexandria. But yeah, and you say also Andrea's comic death is coming up in the show. I wonder who will get it. It's probably gonna be like Ezekiel or somebody, Epic Zombie Killer. They're probably gonna have Ezekiel get bit. Also, like in the comic, Andrew was bit on the neck, and I'm pretty sure like that's where Ezekiel has the cancer. So maybe they'll do something similar. Maybe Ezekiel will get bit on the other side of his neck, or he'll the cancer thing will get worse, and then he'll die in the bed or something. I'm gonna say Ezekiel. Dan says it better not be Rosita, but it could be because she's in that Netflix series now as well. Yeah, I mean, who really knows, Dan? It's kind of hard to say because I think Gabriel's going to die, and if they kill off Gabriel, I cannot see him killing off Rosita too in the same season, or like, not like a few episodes later. I just kind of can't see it. Eastside Badger says if Sweet Rosita dies, we ride. Well, I don't know. I definitely do like what they're doing with Rosita, but I don't know if I'm gonna ride. I mean, it really depends. Like, I'm only gonna ride if it's like Alicia or someone, but it depends. Epic Zombie Killer says, my opinion, the actor they got for Heath in season, I'm guessing you're saying 6, that was a bad casting. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, Corey Hawkins has the perfect face for Heath, but I'm sorry, he has no loyalty. Corey Hawkins was literally in one season, and they probably told him that he was going to be a minor character, and he had to be okay with it. And one season later, after being on the show, he decides to leave and do his own show. Like, he should have known, he should have been loyal, he should have looked at the character Heath and understood that while he's not going to be a huge character, he might, have his moment to shine. Like this is The Walking Dead. Even if you're not a big character, you get to shine big time because Heath is supposed to be around for multiple seasons. And Corey could have, been humble and said, even though I'm not a big role in the story, I'm okay with this. And if Heath was still around in season 10, he would have been a main character. But, he just he wasn't loyal, he wasn't patient, and it backfired on him big time. Dan says, definitely, I love her character. She's so underrated, in my opinion. Well, I'm guessing you're talking about Rosita. Yeah, I mean, I really like Rosita, Dan. It's just that she's no Alicia, and as far as like, I don't want to. I mean, let's see. I don't want to see her die yet either. I'm just saying, like, if she does, I would be somewhat okay with it. Like I'm not gonna riot just because like I feel like there isn't much to do with that character anymore. But yeah, and it looks like we only got a few minutes left until we're at the 2 hour and 30 minutes mark. If you guys have any last minutes responses, yeah, please write them down as fast as you can because in a few more minutes I think I'm gonna end it. Yeah, my throat's getting parched, and I don't know how much longer I can keep going. But yeah, I really appreciate this. And next stream I do, I'm gonna try and have it. It's gonna be when I come back from my trip, and I'm gonna try and do it at 9 o'clock. So that would, I guess, give more time at night for you guys. Let's see. Dan says, I think Gabriel's death is more likely than Rosita, though. Yeah, I agree, Dan. And I hope Rosita doesn't die because she's on a new show, the actress. Just because like that's so easy to predict with deaths. Like I hate that in The Walking Dead where you could just predict a death if the actress is doing or actor or actress is doing something else. Like I hope that doesn't happen. Epic Zombie Killer says Rosita, she is one of the longest living characters on the show now. Yeah, that's crazy, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, like she was introduced when the governor was dead and she's been on the show for so long. So and also she's one of the last female characters on the show still around. So yeah, let's see. Dan says we almost made it to 2 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah, Dan. Yeah, just one more minute. Uh, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm ever gonna do a 3 hour live stream, but we'll see. Um, I mean, it really depends. I mean, maybe I can extend it like 5 or 10 more minutes for you guys if you want. Just let me know if you want to. I mean, I do really have to go soon, but if you guys want to extend it just a little bit more, I'm okay with that. Let's see. Yeah, we almost made it to wow, yeah, 20 more seconds and we're there. Let's see. Dan says, "Yeah, that's why they should keep her." Yeah, I agree, Dan. I mean, the show, if they want to keep it going to, season 15, 20, they need Rosita for a little longer. Epic Zombie Killer says Sasha, she went Star Trek and then died in season 7. Yeah, I hated that Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, it was so easy to predict Sasha's death. And it's crazy because she was one of my favorite characters in season 7. And it gave her the most stupidest death ever. She literally took a cyanide pill to become a walker on the slim, very slim chance that she might bite Negan and kill him, even though she had no way of knowing that. I mean, what if Negan forced Carl to open that coffin? Did she not think about that? I'm just saying, like, this is why, like, I think Dan said he liked the season 7 finale, but honestly, I hated the season 7 finale, and that's one of the reasons why characters are doing stupid things without thinking. I mean, couldn't Sasha have just attacked Negan when she was alive in the coffin? I mean, wouldn't that have worked better? Epic Zombie Killer says, "My opinion, I want Fear to end after season 6. If it gets better, a season 7, I'll be mad." Oh, if it gets to season 7, I'll be mad. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, as much as I love Alicia, it's gotta end. Fear season 6, it's gotta be the end of the franchise. It's time. They need to set up the CRM outpost and set up the Fear group into going to the movies. They need to do that finally. Gimple and the other writers and AMC, they need to, stop being delusional and understand that they had their chance with Fear. They blew it. Now it's time to give it a decent ending because we don't want another, botched story. Dan says, "I liked when she took Negan down, but you do make a good point." Yeah, thanks, Dan. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you like the season 7 finale, I understand that, but it just she was one of my favorite characters, and Sasha, she should have survived to All Out War because she was like the sharpshooter of the group. She had the whole Andrea sniper thing down. So why take her out of the story, so soon? And she could have killed someone else. It could have been Carl or Rick, and she would never know. She would be dead. She would never know if she killed Negan, and it just Sasha's supposed to be a smart character, but she makes a stupid decision. Let's see. Epic Zombie Killer says that's another thing about Fear I hate is that they stole Holly's death. Yeah, I mean, like, even though like what they did, even though Fear stole it, like, I still think they should have done that in the show, just because like, I don't think enough people watched Fear to really be not surprised with the Holly death. Like, I think they could have done it. You know, Dan says Fear is already dead. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree, Dan. I don't see them doing a good job with season 6 because there's 16 different perspectives, and that basically means we're gonna get like 4 minutes with each character. 4 minutes with Alicia, 4 minutes with Strand, 4 minutes with Morgan, like for every episode, and that's just gonna be so confusing. I mean, are they going to introduce 16 new communities, like, or a new community for each, perspective? Like, that's horrible, writing. Because even with season 7 and 8, 4 communities, or 4 or 5, 6 communities in the Walking Dead show, it almost destroyed the franchise because there were too many communities, and I just don't know what Gimple's going to do. Eastside Badger says Fear could have 5,000 viewers and AMC would keep it going. Gimple is in complete control of the Walking Dead universe. That is so scary, Eastside Badger. I cannot stand that. I mean, you're probably right, but I just hate that. Like, why is this happening? Gimple, is he's delusional. I'm sorry. Like, if he thinks the Fear can like revitalize the franchise, he's wrong. Fear was botched and it was a big mistake that they made, and there's no way of fixing it. They killed off Madison. They made horrible stories, and now they're trying to sort of connect it with the CRM, but not really. Epic Zombie Killer says like they should have just had Negan pull up in his truck and hand over Sasha with a bag over her head. Yeah, I agree, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, even though they did that in Fear, like, I still think it could have worked in the show because there's a big, at least there was a couple year difference. So yeah, Dan says this is just a mess if it's 4 minutes of each character. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see what else they can do. He said 16 perspectives and an episode. What we saw in season 5 finale that Virginia separated everyone, which was still very stupid, both to the story and to her, because like how much gasoline she would have to use so much gasoline to drive each person to a different location. Like that's not even funny because I mean it's a big group that they had. So yeah, um, and let's see. I think we're gonna give it another couple minutes and another couple to 5 minutes, and yeah, I should really end the stream. But yeah, I appreciate you guys who came and stopped by. Epic Zombie Killer, Dan, Eastside Badger, really appreciate you guys. I think I want to give it just a couple more minutes, and yeah. Um, you know what? How would you guys write Fear Season 6? Let's end it in a couple more minutes. How would you guys write Season 6 of Fear? Epic Zombie Killer says, like Ronnie Hayes is right, Fear is weighing down the franchise. It definitely is, Epic Zombie Killer. I mean, like I'm not seeing any reactions to Fear the Walking Dead on YouTube anymore. Pretty much, like the reactions are decreasing big time, and the reviews as well. People don't want to review or react or watch Fear anymore, and it's really showing. It's weighing down the franchise, and Fear does not deserve the name. You know, I mean, there's some things that's good about Fear. Like I said, they had a good idea with the Clark family. Alicia is one of the best characters in The Walking Dead entirely, but they made a huge mistake. Dan says, using all this gasoline, yet they ride on horses. It's like, really? Yeah, Dan, I mean, I don't understand that either. Like, I mean, yeah, exactly. Unless they think they have all the gasoline ever. But still, I mean, like, how many? You would have to get a lot of people, and driving each person to a different community, like, that just. It doesn't make sense for the story or for the characters to do. I mean, yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, they use horses. I mean, I have no idea. Like, it's just really confusing. Um, let's see. I'm gonna give it. You know what? When we hit the 2 hours and 40 minutes mark, I think we're gonna end it. Let's see. Oh yeah. So how would you guys write Fear Season 6? So what I would do is I would scrap the. I would end the Jenny storyline in like a couple episodes. I would not do a huge time skip, and I would scrap the Jenny storyline in like 3 episodes, give it 3 episodes, and have the characters at least partially reunite, and then introduce the CRM, and then build up the group finding a CRM outpost, and then they get taken, and or at least they find the CRM, and the Fear the Walking Dead ends, and then they continue to the Rick movies. Epic Zombie Killer says, Fear the Walking Dead, it doesn't deserve the Walking Dead name and its title. Agreed. Dan says, I don't want to review it either, but Alicia is keeping me going. LOL. Yeah, exactly, Dan. I mean, pretty much. Like, that's what most people say, and I know I do. Eastside Badger says, Ronnie is okay, but I don't know if he watches the main show anymore, does he? Uh, oh, Eastside Badger. Yeah, Ronnie Hayes watches the main show, but he doesn't watch Fear the Walking Dead anymore, and he doesn't really review it. So Dan says he still does, but I don't think he likes it as much nowadays. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Ronnie Hayes, he's definitely like taking a back seat with The Walking Dead. He's doing more horror movies and doing different things, and he's focusing on his comic Doomsday Kingdom. But I mean, don't get me wrong, he has the right to do what he wants with his channel, but I feel like there's some things that he still needs to upload. Like he needs to do the comic cover breakdowns for The Walking Dead, final volumes, and it'd be nice to have some more Walking Dead here and there. But he's done a couple of videos recently, so that's nice. Eastside Badger says I used to watch him, but not anymore. The vaping, I don't really like that either. Eastside Badger, vaping, I'm against that, but That's not exactly my biggest problem with him, but I mean, I don't have a problem with him, but like what he does. But I would say that's definitely a bit of an issue. Epic Zombie Killer says the only problem with horses is that they kill them so quickly. Like horses are useful. Why feed them to walkers? Do you mean in the story? I'm not sure what you mean, Epic Zombie Killer. The walkers should definitely not be able to kill horses so easily in The Walking Dead. It's unrealistic and makes no sense. The walkers are weak, skinny. Yeah. Epic Zombie Killer says, "Sorry, I'm a huge horse lover, and I hate seeing them die by walkers." Yeah, I thought you were talking about that, and yeah, I agree. I mean, I hate seeing that too, but unfortunately, it happens once in a while. Like, it made no sense when they did it with Dwight. Dwight got surrounded, jumped off his horse, and then the horse got eaten. That was dumb. Uh, Eastside Badger says, I would have liked the season 7 finale more if Negan won. Um, well, I don't know about that, Eastside Badger. I mean, I definitely think we needed some more deaths, and not Sasha. We needed something else. But we definitely needed Negan winning more in the Walking Dead show. Like, he didn't really seem that much of a villain. And Epic Zombie Killer says, yeah, in the story. All right, guys. Let's see. Yep, we have now hit the 2 hours and 40 minutes mark. I'm gonna end it right here. Actually, Dan, hold on. Dan says it happens so often. Two horses die all the time. I'm guessing you mean too many. Yeah, too many horses die in The Walking Dead. It's a little bit overdone. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. I'm sorry. I think I really want to end the stream here. I appreciate all you guys stopping by. Eastside Badger, Epic Zombie Killer, and Dan. I really appreciate you guys coming to my stream and talking for almost 3 hours now. And yeah. Oh, Epic Zombie Killer says, yeah, they just did that because they wanted to kill Dwight's horse. Yeah, that was dumb. Epic Zombie Killer. They did it because they wanted to make us think Dwight will sacrifice himself. Like, we knew better. We're smarter than that. We're not stupid. Um, but yeah, guys. So that's it for the stream. I'm gonna end it here. Thank you all for stopping by. My next stream is gonna come back when I'm maybe sometime like on the 22nd of this month. So sometime before, let's see. Oh, I already did Epic Zombie Killer. Great stream. Thanks, Dan. And yeah, Epic Zombie Killer. I already read your last comment. And yeah, I didn't like that they did that. Uh, so yeah, guys, thank you so much for coming to my stream, and I'm gonna try next time to do it at 9 p.m. so that we can have maybe more people. And Dan says I'll be back with another video tomorrow. Well, I'll be sure to watch it and comment on it, Dan. Thank you so much, and I look forward to it. Um, Epic Zombie Killer says bye. See you next stream. Well, bye, Epic Zombie Killer. Hope to see you next time, and thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thank you all. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your week and to take care. Bye.